Let's kick off today's program. So yesterday was quite jam-packed. We spoke a little bit in our networking sessions already about the nuggets that stood out for us. But today's program is really just focused on a couple of things, three particular things: financing your business, for entrepreneurs specifically, looking at how to register your business. So we will have a session as well from Basecamp. We'll have a session from BIPA, and really just looking at supporting startups. What does that look like? The nitty-gritties, preparing your pitch, how would you go about it, who to approach, what type of company to register, and so forth. So without wasting any time, the person that will be addressing us today for the very first session is a lady. I'd like to call her somebody that wears many hats. Most of you will be very surprised. She was the lady that entertained us last night, for those of you that were at the gala. So definitely a woman that wears many hats. This is none other than our very own Romancia Shoga. She will be speaking today. Apologies, I'm just trying to get my notes together. She will be speaking today to us about the intersection of business and intellectual property rights in the mining and energy sector. Romancia is coming from BIPA. Previously, she's worked as a business development and accounts manager at Cyber Communications. She's also worked for Vision Africa Research Services for a period of over 5 years, where she moved through different ranks. Currently, she works as the Client Services Manager for BIPA Namibia. Can we please give her a warm round of applause?
I hope we're all well. As stated before, my name is Romancia Shoga. I am the Client Service Manager at the Business and Intellectual Property Authority. So, in a nutshell, whenever clients have problems or challenges, I'm basically the person you speak to. Most people don't know that they're speaking to me until we've met in person or we speak over the phone. So I will take you through this presentation. It's quite lengthy, but I will use a lot of practical examples to make it easier to grasp. Yeah? I prefer speaking English over jargon, if you guys don't mind. As you may have or may not have noticed, I have sneakers on because I like feeling grounded. I do like my heels, but I felt it's kind of okay to relate to people. Alright? So yeah, and also just a quick house rule. For those who haven't put their phones on silent or vibrate, please do that now. It'll just help not disturb someone else, especially me. But yeah, so we're going to go through a number of topics. Ideally, I like to call this presentation Minding Your Business. It's catchy, most people remember that phrase. But of course, Zenzi insisted on a longer title, so we'll run with that. But if there's anything, when it comes to your own business, when it comes to your company or the employer you work for, what's key is minding it, right? So let's all remember to mind our business. Okay. First things first, we'll discuss the business life cycle. Most people don't know that businesses have a life cycle, but when it comes to an entity that's referred to as a juristic entity, it has a beginning and it has an ending. In other words, you can incorporate it and you can deregister it, all right? After that, we'll discuss the accepted forms of identification. We'll also discuss the newly introduced beneficial ownership. It's a term, it's a document, it's a statutory compliance mandate that everyone as a business owner and as a registered company are obligated to submit, be they foreign, be they local. We are all obligated to submit that, and it's not just in Namibia, it's all over the world. Okay. Then we'll discuss the completion of the forms very lightly. We'll discuss maintenance, business maintenance. We'll also discuss amendments. So can you make changes to your company? Yes, you can. We'll discuss good standing. It's also a compliance obligation in Namibia, according to the Business and Intellectual Property Act and the Companies and Close Corporations Act. Then we'll discuss business deregistration. Once we're done with that, then we get to talk about intellectual property and just what intellectual property is. So I'm glad that there are bottles in front of you, although I'll be using easier examples like the more commonly known brands like your Fanta, your Cokes, just so we have a better grasp and appreciation for what the different rights have and what they entail, if that's okay with all of you. And then, of course, I conclude, because there are always lots of questions, with contact details. That way you can always reach myself or my team after the presentation, and that there's always a connection, whether you're an aspiring business person or you work in the compliance department or know someone that has questions about business registration or intellectual property, as they all fall under one institution in Namibia. All right, are we ready? Awesome, good. As I stated before, business has a life cycle. It starts with the name reservation. Once the name has been reserved, you can then do the incorporation bit. Once that is done, we have what you call maintenance, which is your annual submission of annual duties or returns. So when you own, as a CC or closed corporation owner, you'll know the annual duty. If you are a PTY holder, whether it's a limited company or private company or a foreign-owned company, you will be referring to the annual return, okay? Once you have that, you can then make amendments, because often the limitation to processing of amendments is that you need to have your annual duty or return updated every year. It must be paid, it must be submitted for the amendments to be done. And should the company decide, that they want to close or no longer wish to trade, or it's been inoperable, you can then choose to deregister as well. But to do that, again, your annual duty submissions need to be up to date. Okay. So when it comes to name reservation, it's a very short process, costs you $75 million. Turnaround in Windhoek is 3 days. You attach a certified or notarized passport or ID copy. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So with name reservations, because we accept, so name reservations have one exception. If it's a local company, if it's a brand new local company, it's not registered anywhere else, you just complete your standard CC8 or your CM5, right? If the company is a foreign company that wishes to register with the same name in Namibia, you then attach your notarized copies of the Certificate of Incorporation and the Articles of Memorandum of Association. The Articles of Memorandum are usually a document that just states who the owners are, what the business will be doing, basically the constitution of the company, how they'll trade, what they're trading in, that type of thing, and then the ownership structure. So for a foreign company that wishes to register as a branch, because we don't have the term of branches in Namibia, but it's a term that people use elsewhere, that's the same thing. You just attach it to your CM5 document. In most cases, everywhere else in the world, there are no CCs, there are only PTYs or LLCs. People from the Northern Hemisphere would probably be more acquainted with the term LLCs or limited companies or proprietary limited companies. So you attach that and then you submit them. Okay, so when it comes to, so this is for the CC in terms of the founding statement. The founding statement, oh yeah, can I get a loose mic? I prefer walking around while I'm speaking. It's just easier. Otherwise, I feel arrested.
You are not subtle.
As a presenter, I just feel like I want to turn and I can't. Okay, but so for founding statement, the CC1 is $150 million. It takes about 5 business days to turn around. Our processes are still semi-manual, so we do still only accept hard copies. Thank you so much. We still only use hard copies. You need a registered accountant to provide you with a consent letter, and your founding statement should be submitted in triplicate, and then you still complete your beneficial ownership form. With the PTY, it's a little bit more complex, so once the CM5, which is the name reservation, has been approved, you then complete all of these other documents. You can actually have a secretarial firm or legal firm do this for you. They complete all of these. You need to have all of these sorted out. If you're a foreign national based in Namibia, we do accept certified passport copies. If you are local and you're based abroad, we do accept certified ID copies. The only caveat is it needs to be certified at your nearest Namibian embassy or High Commission office. Alternatively, you can apostille or notarize your ID for Namibian. If you're foreign based, you can apostille or notarize your passport. All right. So, in terms of accepted forms of identification, I think I covered that just now. but I'll just run through it again. For Namibian nationals and locally based foreign nationals, that also means if a foreign national is currently in the country on the date that the documents are being submitted, the passports may be certified. And then for someone not residing in Namibia, for Namibians, you can get your documents certified at the nearest High Commission office or at an embassy office, and for foreign nationals it must be notarized or apostilled. The reason for that is that the global standard for verification of foreign identity documents in a foreign jurisdiction is that it must be apostilled or notarized, because the notary public is sort of like a licensed justice of the peace. They're an officer that can verify that the copy you brought them is an original, and they're the only ones that are recognized to do that, so that's why that is required. Okay, so beneficial ownership. This is a term that was introduced and actually already enforced in terms of legislation. As some of you may have noticed, the Financial Intelligence Center, the banks, the Bank of Namibia, the Master of the High Court, and BIPA recently amended their acts to accommodate this. This comes from a mandate passed by the Eastern and Southern Anti-Money Laundering Group, which is the local or the continental representative of the Financial Action Task Force, which is a unit of the United Nations. Are we making the connection? I'll try again. So, a lot of crime has been happening, and a lot of these crimes have been happening through the funneling of funds from one company to another. So I'll give you examples of, for example, what is the most popular one? The fish rod case. If you are a police officer in Namibia and you find out that this person owns a company in Namibia or has registered businesses in Namibia, what happens? You go to BIPA and you ask them for the founding statements and the documents of incorporation. But you'll not necessarily, these documents might not necessarily tell you who the true owner is, because the person might have put proxies as business owners of the company, right? But then ultimately there is a shadow there's a shadow individual making decisions on behalf of these entities, and they're funneling money from one company in one country to another in a different jurisdiction. And ultimately what also happens is these people end up having accounts in countries that have tax haven situations. So these banks are not obligated to disclose who the owners of these accounts are. Is the light on now? Okay. So then the UN said, okay, since everyone is now transferring money to tax haven companies or countries and putting registering companies in these countries that aren't obligated to declare this information, we will now obligate every country in the world to develop and maintain an accurate and up-to-date beneficial ownership register. So the beneficial owner is always someone or a group of people that ultimately own a company, even if it's the Sheikh of Dubai, even if it's the Prince or the King of England. Ultimately, who is making the final decision? And the threshold in Namibia is 25% or more, and it's not just about ownership, it's influence as well. So even if you only own 5% in the ownership structure, if you are the one who signs off the final decision at a board decision level, or you're the one firing or hiring staff or appointing senior managers, you are a beneficial owner. That also includes your next of kin if they use company resources, because then they are beneficially enjoying assets that don't necessarily belong to them. So in the Namibian context, it would be people who are related, for example, to the Tima family under the ONL group, for example. So another example is Trustco Group, the holdings group. If any of their relatives are enjoying, for example, access to a company car, a plane, a hotel room, anything, without working for the company, they are a beneficial owner, right? So that this slide basically describes the different types of beneficial owners. So like I said before, you can be a director that's appointed. It can be a trust, a company, like a PTY, a limited company's director. It can be a CC member. All of you are directors listed on this company, and you all have rights to this company. So you will all be listed, but ultimately it must be a human being that owns the company or influences the managing of the company. And yeah, so that's that in a nutshell when it comes to beneficial ownership. When does beneficial ownership cease? You can cease to be a member of a company when you resign, when you get fired, when you step down, when you die, or when whoever you were enjoying the assets or benefits of that specific company to ceases to be a member. So we've listed them all there because we need to be as thorough as possible. For example, when Harold Pupkewitz passed away and, for example, someone else buys the Pupkewitz group, obviously, depending on what the sale agreement says, his family could still be benefiting from the company, or they could completely be removed from enjoying the assets of the company. So that's what happens. So then he would then cease to be a beneficial owner by virtue of him having died. But then the family members that have been enjoying the rights would have been removed, right? So then all of them are removed, and that register gets updated. In terms of completion, we do not have, like I said, it's a semi-manual system, so we still only accept originally signed documents, but when a client is foreign-based, we do allow scanned copies of the document because you are based abroad. I mean, common sense. I would rather have your information than not have your information at all. That also means if your documents are not in English, they must be translated by a foreign translator. How often do you submit these documents? If you don't have any amendments throughout the financial year, at the end of your financial year when you're submitting your annual duties or your annual return, alternatively when you make amendments. And these amendments are specifically for things like your contact details have changed, you have moved your personal residence, you have changed ownership. For example, you've sold the company, so it's no longer your company, so you update that, and then you get removed, and it's indicated on our system that you are no longer a beneficial owner. Because what happens is, if, for example, someone does something nefarious or illegal with that company and that information is not updated, it becomes a criminal offense for you who didn't update that information. Because so the information or that responsibility ultimately lies with the company. All right. So let's go to business maintenance. What is the annual duty? The annual duty is a document that companies complete. It's like your tax return. If you classify it at the same level as your tax return, you will never miss it. Because as a business owner, you are obligated by law to always pay your annual duty every year. It's a compliance requirement. For companies, it's $290 if your share capital is $4,000. $4,000 million, but if your share value capital exceeds 4,000, obviously the number will vary. And we have companies, especially the holdings companies that own multiple companies, like your Old Mutual Group, your Standard Banks, your First Rand Holdings, that have more than that have shares that exceed $4,000. So theirs is different. These people pay up to 500,000. $1 million, 1.2 million, 2.5 million in annual duties every year. And they make it they make it a mandatory obligation to keep their documents updated because also their boards change over time. Their senior management changes over time, and that information needs to be updated with the registrar of companies as soon as possible. Okay. In terms of amendments, the question is, can you change information or details on your incorporation documents? Yes, you can. And this usually happens when a company changes its addresses, when you change your business activities, when it changes ownership. If I'm not based in the country, but I have a partner in the country, or one of the other senior partners are in the country, and we need to make an amendment, and BIPA only allows originally signed documents, you can give that person a power of attorney to sign on your behalf for the purpose of that amendment. That can be done. And that can be accommodated. Again, what's very critical is that IDs must always be certified. Passports can be certified, notarized, or apostilled. And you can only submit amendments if your annual duties are paid up to date. You can either prove that with the receipts, or copies of your receipts, a zero balance statement, or a good standing certificate. So BIPA does give good standing certificates as soon as your annual duties have been submitted in. Okay, in terms of good standing, you can request for one with proof of your zero balance statement with your business name and registration number. That can be forwarded to goodstanding@bipa.na. The turnaround is a bit slow, like I said, semi-manual, but please stay with me, hold my hand, we are praying. We are in the process of procuring a virtual system where clients will be able to process everything from the comfort of wherever they are. So that will hopefully be a win come think 24 months from now, 24 to 36 months from now. Okay, it takes a bit of time because, again, you know, SOEs have different rankings, so the value of the procurement of that specific procurement exceeds our rank, so we have to submit it to the Central Procurement Board, and as everyone knows, when it comes to public sector, it takes time. So bear with me. Business deregistration. Your company is inoperable, you've not been trading since you've registered, it's just there. Or in other words, it's dormant. Or you've decided to not trade anymore. We have deregistration resolutions on our website. Our website is back up again. All the information that I'm sharing is on the website as well. You can complete all your annual duties, you get your statement, complete those forms, submit your beneficial ownership form, you complete your deregistration resolution. It can be for CC, it can be for PTY, and then you submit the deregistration submission and it gets processed. In Namibia, at present, the turnaround for deregistrations is 3 months. We are working on our laws to update this and to expedite it. We're also working around having to publish it on the Government Gazette because that's also only a monthly publication. So once our laws are enforced, we will then be able to do this much faster. But also, for companies that haven't submitted their beneficial ownership information as yet, mass deregistrations will be done for all those companies, and that means that once that has been declared by through the Government Gazette, NAMRA and Social Security will then also deregister all of these companies. So I would advise that we all encourage everyone we know who owns a business to get that information to be done as fast as possible. Okay. Now we may not have national presence in terms of a physical office, but our partner agency, which is the Ministry of Trade and Industry, does accept all BIPA documents on our behalf, and they mail it to us on a weekly basis. So you can complete all your documentation and submit it at the nearest MIT office. They will send it to us, we will send it back to them once the process has been concluded. So you are not in the dark, and you don't have to physically come to Bantu to get it done. You can also courier it to us, and we will then courier it to the nearest MIT office and notify you via email and SMS that your documents have been sent out. Okay. Intellectual property. This topic is one of my favorite topics because it's really so cool. I mean, if it wasn't for intellectual property, I don't think we would be enjoying the innovations that we're enjoying. I mean, everyone has a smartphone, right? Be it an Android or an Apple product, of course. So with intellectual property, our mandate at BIPA is to promote the creation, use, maintenance, and protection of intellectual property in Namibia. We also contribute towards the development of intellectual property rights in the sub-region, on the continent, and internationally. When we talk about intellectual property, we're not talking about, the building of, well, we are talking about the building of this laptop, but we're also talking about, literary works, artistic works. How did Nedbank get to choose that green? No one else can use that green because it's protected. The word Nedbank cannot be replicated. No one else can establish the word Nedbank and use it as a bank. It's protected, right? For example, if I saw a T or a T under here in a circle or a C under this logo, I would know it's copyright protected, right? Some companies, I think we're probably even ignorant to the fact that there's always this disclaimer on our email signatures stating that whatever is shared here is confidential, but that the company information is also copyright protected because it belongs to the company. And that's really where intellectual property comes to play. Now, it's split into two domains. We've got industrial property, which is trademarks, industrial designs, geographical indications, and then we've got literary works, which fall under the copyright umbrella. So I'll just quickly run through everything, and then, because I don't really like just talking, I will open the floor for questions, and then you guys can shoot your shots, and I will try and answer them as far as possible. So the first two types are geographical indication. A good example is Rooibos as a brand. Rooibos is endemic to South Africa, specifically the Cape area, because it's made from a type of fynbos plant that only grows in that area. No one in the world can claim that name. Another example for those who like champagne, the word champagne. No one else in the world can call their bubbly champagne because it comes from the Champagne province in France. right? So everything that the South Africans are making is called NCC, because they can't use the word champagne. So that's what we call a geographical indication. Traditional knowledge. Ombeke, marula, the marula oil that Namibians make, right? So if someone was to claim it under traditional knowledge, it would be the process of making the oil, the process of refining the oil, from taking the nut from the tree or opening it up and how they take it out to the actual final product in a bottle. That falls under traditional knowledge, and then it would also become an industrial design, but we'll get to that now shortly. Now, with regards to copyrights, any song you like, any of your favorite songs that you can find on your iStore or on your Spotify, YouTube, whatever, they're all copyright protected. Every website you've ever been to, copyright protected. That's what we refer to as copyrights. Think of a Van Gogh painting or the Mona Lisa. That would also be copyright protected. No one else can replicate that, with the caveat that it is registered as belonging to the specific artist. It would then be copyright protected. The beautiful thing about a copyright is it's automatic under international law, and your heirs, your next of kin, your children, they can also benefit from these rights. That's why people like the late Marvin Gaye's children can still claim, their foundations and trusts can still claim royalties for these things, because it's been registered. So that's the beauty of intellectual property. It's not limited to your lifespan. Okay. Next one, trademark protection. Let's talk about Coca-Cola. When you think about Coke, the mere fact that someone decided they want a beverage that's not only gaseous, but that it's black, and it tastes a certain way, and then it has a certain amount of caffeine, but it's not coffee, and it's cold. That is basically what a trademark is. No one can make Coke the same way. No one can name it Coke the same way. No one can design the same Coke bottle, because they not only trademark the product, they also distinguish the bottle. So when you look at the front of the bottle, it has these little bubbles on it. No one else is allowed to do that, because they've registered it as their own intellectual property. And these rights are renewed indefinitely, but because of certain conventions, there's some brands that have opted to register them at a higher level. So, for example, like the Coke brand, nowhere in the world can you replicate it, because it's actually enforced globally. So I would say, especially because Namibia is currently paving the way, we're actually the leaders in Africa when it comes to the development of intellectual property. If you are developing anything that is novel, please register it as soon as possible. That way, when infringement happens, you are well within your right to be protected. And we are quick to respond to that. We've got examiners all over the world that are working with our Namibian office to ensure that all intellectual property rights are protected in Namibia as well. Okay, industrial design. I was referring to the Fanta bottle and the Coke bottle. That's what I was referring to. Even the virgin design, the first idea, from that until the finished product needs to be registered. You need to share that to ensure that your thought process does not get replicated. Okay, and then we have a mediation center. So what I noticed is in Namibia, most businesses and companies take each other to court, which is very expensive, in my opinion, honestly. But that's why we've been mandated to establish a mediation center. And what it does is, for example, I'll give you a good example. The Lacoste, no, not Lacoste. The Polo case. Ralph Lauren designed an image of a guy on a horse. And then someone in South Africa decided to buy that right. But this very same guy decided to sell the same right to someone in the US. Now, for those who are not from the Southern African region, you have two types of polo shirts. There's one where the rider is very big and is on your left breast. And then there's one where the guy is very small, he's in white, he's on your left breast. Then there's one that's very big and on your right breast. And the guy on your right breast has color, while the guy on your left breast is, I think he's plain white. That's a standard intellectual property case. And the beautiful thing about this case law is they didn't know the guy sold both rights to both people until they were in court. Had they gone through mediation, the mediator would have said, okay, but what does your sale agreement say? Does it say that it's an exclusive right to only you? Or does it say that the seller has the authority to sell these rights to more than one person? So that's ultimately what happened. And with the mediation case, instead of taking each other to court, waiting for a court to be availed, for a judge to review a cause, and remember the final decision by the judge is final unless you have the funds to appeal, then you have to appeal it at a higher court. With a mediator, this person is a neutral person. You can check the caliber of mediators that we have on our database and have them basically sit in the mediation discussion while you as the disputing parties can hash it out. Your decisions are still final, they're still legally binding, so you can't go back on a decision once this is concluded. And then, we figured it's better to do it that way because also we're thinking about the small man. A one-man shop can't compete with a multinational conglomerate, even if they are rightfully owed whatever has been infringed upon them. So this center then avails that right for the small man to also be able to defend themselves without having to lose whatever little bit they have. So yeah, that's that from BIPA's side. Our contact details. We've got a call center. You can also contact us via email at info@BIPA. Deregistration inquiries can go to the manager of companies, Ms. Hasselman. We've got the good standing certificate with file requests. If you've lost your incorporation documentation for some or other reason, you can contact the guys at File Request. They'll share our banking details, tell you the turnaround time. You can request to pick them up in person or have them emailed to you. Account statements for those who don't know how much annual duties they owe or how far back they haven't paid the annual duties. You can contact the debtors at bipa.na. If, for example, a client has made like IP@bipa.na. And that's it from my side. That's really it. Oh, one more thing before I go. When it comes to the mineral rights in Namibia, the Mineral Rights Act says that as Namibians, we're not allowed to own less than, and this is the local to foreign ratio. So foreign-based companies or foreign-based owners are not allowed to own a mineral right by more than 49%. Okay? The ratio between Namibian and foreign must always be 51 to 49 because it's a Namibian product and it needs to be owned by Namibians. That's the rule. And that's specifically to mineral rights. So your EPLs and stuff like that, that's why that other case, I think it's with the EPL in the Omaruru region, that's why that was such a big case because what the guys did was they sold 100% rights to a foreign of the EPL to a foreign owner, which was incorrect. So that's the only caveat when it comes to owning mineral rights in Namibia. Other than that, anyone can register a business. Even a minor can own a business. It's not against the law. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So if we have any questions, the floor is open.
I wanted to find out maybe if you can go to the part we spoke about PTY. Yes. So with the PTY, what I wanted to understand is, number one, what are the costs for it? Because that's the one. Then the second, because it's a little bit different from a CC, the process for it and how long it takes. And should you already have your sort of preferred board of directors already? Is that what you need now, especially given the new regulations on who the business owner people are, for example? And also, I wanted to understand, are you able to, so let's say you had CCs that you now want to turn into PTY, can you do that as well? So yeah, that's the one anomaly that I don't quite.
Okay, the first question was, can you, wait, what was the first question again? How long does it take or how much does it cost? Okay, so the cost varies. And like I alluded to earlier, the cost varies because of the share value capital. So every company can choose what the value of their capital is. up from $4,000 and higher. So because of that, we don't dictate what the value of your shares would be. However, every document has a price tag attached to it. If you calculate all of those together, plus the 4,000 that you're going to pay, you can be paying between 5,000 easy. And if your company is foreign-owned, for example, or foreign-based company, the exchange rate also impacts how much you pay in $1 million. So it varies. It varies. When it comes to the directorship, I would say, ideally, because you don't have to be 10 people that own a BTY, right? It can be one owner only. So if it's just you, it can literally be only you as the director of the company. Does that answer your question to some extent? That specific question in terms of ownership and then the amount. I think the last question was if you want to convert.
Sorry, just to go, so a PTY doesn't need a board? Because I thought that
No,
was...
it's a private company.
Oh.
It's only SOEs that have board of directors. P2Is have the luxury to decide, depending on their shareholding structure, because this is why you have your incorporation documents, and you can even have your pre-incorporation setup, right? So depending on what you dictate as an owner, you can have a board, you don't have to have a board if you don't want to. Because then ultimately still the decision making would, it just depends on the complexity of your structure really, yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then in terms of conversion, so if you're a CC that wants to convert to a PTI, you can do that. You just complete all of these forms and then submit them with the founding statement that you have, and then they register. It's the same turnaround time actually as a CC. It takes about 5 business days. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Rumetia. Very informative. Yet, I wanted to find out, this is a lot of information to take on at once. And also, when a situation or process is new, going on the website is not as helpful because you're like, where the heck is what? I wanted to find out if you guys have what you probably call consultants that we can call and sit down and say, because I can imagine that everybody has a very unique situation and you won't be able to speak to all of us at once.
Yeah.
So should I want more information additional to the call centers that you have given? Do you offer like consultants that I can sign up or make a meeting with and say, okay, listen, this is what I want to do. How do I go about it?
There are a number of consultants that offer these services. They are what we call secretarial agents, whether it's a one-man secretarial agent or consultant firm. There are legal firms that do this, there are accounting firms that do this, there are auditing firms that do this. If you were to come to me, I'd probably take you downstairs and I'll point you in one of their directions because they're always at our office.
Okay, so it's not that they are deeper employees?
No, they're actually third parties.
Okay.
And because of that, you don't want to create the impression that where BIPA favors one person or one entity over the rest. But usually, if someone were to contact me, I would probably refer them to one of the people I know that are pretty much on top of their game when it comes to secretarial work. Yeah. But I think another thing to also watch out for is they are registered bodies like your ICANN, the Institute for Chartered Accountants. There is your SAIFA, which is the Southern African Institute for Business Consultants. All of these registered bodies have secretarial firms and secretarial agents registered that ought to know how to do the work. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
She's gonna ask you the mic.
I'm just curious. Non-profit company in South Africa is under the Companies Act.
Yes, same here.
So you have to comply with all that is.
Yes.
What about here?
Same.
Okay.
So we have them under the same Companies Act as well, because we basically just took your act and copied it. The only difference would be where you're completing a CM1 with a CM1 and a CM2, you'd be completing for the Section 21, a CM2, 3 and 4. So it would say memorandum of association of a company that has no share capital. And then with the CM44, you complete your CM44 and then the CM44A, where it would say signatories to the Article of Association and then Article of Association of a company that has no share capital adopting
adopting Schedule 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can a foreign national
Absolutely.
NPC be limited?
Yes. We don't have laws limiting foreign nationals from owning businesses. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to find out what is the difference between a CC and a PTY when it comes to the legal implication.
So in terms of the legal implications of the CC, it's really, the CC is for the simple business person, right? It was really created for the person just starting out, you're just trying to figure out things. And as you can see, there's a very big difference even with the compliance costs, because we're trying to facilitate entrepreneurial activity in the country. The other thing is with the CC, you're not obligated to have audited financials, unlike with the PTY. Right? And by PTY, I mean a limited company, a Section 21, which is a non-profit, and even the limited companies that have share registered offices. That basically means that they are holding a company that's trading in Namibia, or they're trading on the stock exchange, right? So a lot of the banks are limited companies because they trade in securities and the investments. They handle investments, yes. So with the PTY, it's more complex in terms that the directors, past, present, and future, are all legally obligated to report should there be any nefarious activity. So if you were an MD 10 years ago and there's an investigation and they find out this thing has started 15 years ago, you can actually be prosecuted. So it's things like that. These are the differences or the nuances between the different entity types. With the PTY, you're obligated to submit annual financial statements every year. And if you're a limited company, you're obligated to declare your profits every year. Things like that, which a CC is not obligated to do. With a CC, you must just have a registered accountant, whereas with a PTY, you have a registered accountant, you have an auditing firm that must always submit their information. So an auditing firm can remove themselves from your PTY and literally say on the document that you've not been compliant, which then triggers investigations into your finances, for example. Whereas with the CC, you are not even obligated to report on your finances yet. So if the laws change, they might, right? But ultimately, the idea of a CC is really to facilitate economic trade at a low level. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? It's probably been an information overload. All good. Still, you guys can reach out. Oh, Senzi. Okay.
No, it's not a question, more comment.
Okay.
Because I'm not thank you later. But all this information, ladies, we're going to compile it into a report and then share it with you. So the reason why you were registering in France yesterday, so we can have your email addresses, so you can share the information. Especially today's practical stuff is going to be emailed to you, not today, but tomorrow, soon.
Thanks. Thank you. I believe that deserves a better round of applause. So as I was listening to Romesha, I think she said two particularly catchy things that I thought would make for a really great BIPA slogan. Not only do we mind your business, we protect your thoughts.
Come on.
Right, so please, that was a very, very informative session. Thank you so much, Romesha. Definitely the BIPA, as she mentioned, BIPA doesn't have a physical office, so please make your way to the MIT offices. You can courier your documents as well for those that don't live in Windhoek. All right, so we're moving on to our next session, which is pitching for your business to investors. So today we have a gentleman in the room with us that will be doing our next session, none other than Tuyamba Kwake. Tuyamba is currently the Program and Business Development Manager at Base Camp Namibia. For those of you that don't know Base Camp Namibia, they support startups. So they believe in entrepreneurship and innovation, and that they are critical to developing national economies. They are currently a business incubator, and they exist particularly for startups and for startup entrepreneurs with innovative business ideas. I believe yesterday's session has definitely sparked and revived that energy for most of us sitting with a lot of startup ideas. Romensha has taken us through the process, the paperwork, which is the ugly part that most of us don't like doing. So please get started, get those forms. Triamba will be taking us through the next part, which is how you are going to pitch to your investors. Let's give Triamba a warm welcome. He's the only gentleman in the room, guys. Can you give him a better round of applause? Give another round of applause.
Great. Well, firstly, I just want to say it's really such a privilege and an honor to be here and speak to everyone today. You know, I see standing up here, your view's a bit different. And I'll definitely say, as much as this is a room full of women, I see business professionals, pioneers of industry, and yeah, the future. So thank you very much for being here. Our Master of Ceremonies gave a brief overview of what we do at Basecamp, which is great. That saves me some time. What I want to say is, I want to touch on our programs that we have, because that's mainly what we do. So we run entrepreneurship programs all the way from pre-incubation through to market acceleration. So we try to work with you to provide you market access. With that being said, our pre-incubation program, it's called our Hunt program. We take you through how to validate your idea, right? We take you through what's called the design thinking process, and through that, you get to develop a customer discovery roadmap. You get to validate your idea with your potential customers. Then you move on to what we call our Cook program, and that's now where our incubation program starts, and we have experts come and speak to you on relevant business topics such as product development, business development, sales and marketing, legal and compliance matters, and the likes. We then move on to our mentorship program, which is called our trade program, and through that we put you in touch with a mentor for 6 months, and you're receiving guidance. Hopefully during this stage you try to get your business operational, or you try to improve your sales within these 6 months, and then you come through to our export program, which is now our acceleration program into the markets you want to venture into. So these names might sound a bit weird, right? Hunt, cook, trade, export, but that's kind of the way it is, right? You have to hunt for the right idea. After you've collected what you've hunted, you have to cook it, right? You have to put the things in place. You have to go to the PIPA. You have to register that business. You have to comply. And then the trade, you want to start trading these goods that you've sourced and cooked. And then hopefully you want to export these goods at the end. So that's just a brief overview of our programs and how they're structured. I want to now call one of our entrepreneurs that's been incubated in one of our programs from last year, who's also in the room, Ms. Mona Ikosa. Please, can you come up stage? Can we have a round of applause for her? I thought it would just be very nice for everyone to hear from an entrepreneur who's in the room, who has come through our programs before, what it's like, and just her experience. So Mona, over to you.
Thank you, Triamba. Triamba has jokes actually, because while you were sitting there, I think it will be best if you spoke from your heart, given the fact that it's also a practical session about what really Basecamp does. So I got to join the program when it was in the Cook, when we were in the Cook phase, And how I actually joined the program is through my bank, First National Bank. So the business section, they nominated my business as one of the businesses to go through the program. So I didn't, fortunately have to go through the HAN process because there was already an existing business. And so we had it was also 6 months, I think, with different presenters. Every month you would have someone speaking on marketing, on legal and compliance, as he said. And so at the end of that program, we then had to put together a business plan for our business, and then we had to pitch it to a panel of judges. So that was quite nerve-wracking in a way because you had 5 minutes, and that was actually very generous because usually internationally you only have 3 minutes to pitch your story. And so we had at least 5 minutes, and they were quite strict because we were about at 22 in the Cook program that got to the pitching stage. We were many. Maybe he can give you the figures, but for you to pitch, you should have done a few things. We had assignments to do. We had the business plan that we needed to complete, and then actually produce a pitch. So I pitched on MI Communications. I actually says, well, one of the things I was telling Rejoice this morning is that I really love telling stories. I love telling people stories. And I call myself a communication fairy godmother. So I make your communication nightmares into, your nightmares into dreams and dreams coming true. So I pitched that. And went through the whole market research and so on. And then I went through I made it to the mentorship program where I was assigned to different mentors for 6 months. And you literally meet them face to face every month for about an hour. Some were more generous. But what I loved about the mentors is that they are very passionate. There were a few others that were there for, I guess, just the money or something. But you can actually, what is interesting is that you can actually feel when someone is really vested in this program and is vested in you, and someone who's just there for the time. So we had incredible mentors that helped me to reshape some of my thoughts. And through that, I was able to recognize that film, so I'm also a filmmaker, and one of the things that I decided then to pitch in the last program is my feature film, my first feature film called Dilimeke. So after the mentorship program, again, you're required then to do a few assessments and give feedback on your mentors, and the mentors also give feedback, and then based on that, you're then invited for a pitch session. So my pitch session after the mentorship program was about 2 weeks ago, and I think we were 10 or 11 in that program, and only 5 could make it to the export program, which is then a 12 months program, and then you are exposed then to investors and the bigger market. And I was fortunate to be the top 5 of that program. So I think really it's because I chose to see film as a product and a service, and I think it's high time that people appreciate the creative arts as also contributing to this economy. So I really want to thank the Basecamp for seeing the value in the feature film, and hopefully you will see soon on your screens in a year's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Mona. And you know, as Mona said, she switched her business idea, or she got new thoughts and insights, and you know, now she pitched a film. And some of us may think, pitching a film, that's not a business, right? But it actually is. We look at things in a very dynamic way at Basecamp, and you know, whatever idea, whatever dreams you have of pursuing, you know, we're there to assist you and help guide you through that process. So, with that being said, let's jump into the pitch training. I don't know if I can get a clicker.
Diamba, I just wanted to mention one thing quickly. I actually, through Viva, also copyrighted the movie. So, and Viva is really fast. I just wanted to raise your mention. So they're very helpful, and especially when it comes to creative art. So when you have your concept, copyright it as soon as you can, and then start into the process.
Thanks, Mona. Okay, so pitch training. Before we jump into it, just a brief background about myself. Of course, my name is Diamba Kwake. I got my business management honors degree from the University of Westminster in London. My passions and interests are in fitness, agriculture, business innovation, sports and technology, and my professional experience, I worked as a financial analyst at Citibank in the UK. I worked as an operations manager for a startup here in Windhoek. I'm now currently the programs and business development manager at Basecamp, and I've also worked as a marketing agent in the UK. So we have quite a lot to go through today, and I'll try to be as fast as possible, but on pitching, I can talk for hours. So please, you know, if time becomes a thing, wave to me or something, please. But we're going to touch on pitch types, because there's not only one type of pitch, there's different types. Pitch structure, how to structure your pitch. Pitch decks, the do's and don'ts when you're putting together that pitch deck. Tips for pitch delivery. Advanced storytelling techniques. Investors want to hear a story. They want to hear something that either gets them to emotionally connect or relate to what you're trying to do. Then data-driven persuasion. How can you use data insights and analytics and statistics to persuade investors? Personal brand integration into your business. And then ideal pitch practice, what does that look like? And then we'll just touch on some key takeaways thereafter. So, the pitch types. There's 3 different types. You firstly get your elevator pitch, usually 30 seconds to 1 minute long, and it's key things about what makes your business interesting. So, it's in the word. Imagine you're in an elevator, a potential investor's in that elevator too, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm in the elevator with Bill Gates, right? Let me pitch to him my solution. And here, during your elevator pitch, you're not necessarily trying to get investment or trying to, get investment. But what you're trying to do is plant a seed in the person's head and say, wow, that's actually a very innovative, great, new, novel solution. Maybe I should link up with this individual at a later stage. So during your elevator pitch, your goal is really to get a coffee date or a meetup later on to discuss your business or your idea in more detail. Then we get the demo pitch. Usually 3 to 5 minutes long, depending on the protocols in place. And the demo pitch is generally what is done at pitching competitions, right? And with the demo pitch, you are presenting, it's a general presentation of your business idea. It's not the fully fledged 20-year plan of everything. It's general. You're just trying to give somebody or the audience who you're pitching in front of a sense of what it is you're trying to achieve with the business. For your demo pitch, you produce what's called a pitch deck. And a pitch deck is no different to a presentation, right? It's a presentation, and we're going to touch on the structure of that presentation shortly, but here you're looking at things like your competitive advantage, unique value proposition, the problem versus the solution. You're also backing up your idea by validating it through your market research. What analytics say that there's a problem in the industry, or what market trends show that there's market opportunity for this type of business to succeed. And then you get your investor's pitch. And that's a pitch for investors who are already interested in your business and what you have to offer. So now you're producing a much more detailed pitch deck, right? And you're pitching between 15 to 30 minutes, right? Because you're going into a deep dive as to what it is you want to achieve with the business. So you're showing financial projections for the next 10 years. You're looking at your growth strategy. You're looking at how do you want to expand into the market? How is your business model going to be sustainable? And all of the likes, right? I'm going through these quite fast because of time, but there's a lot more detail that encompasses all of these different types of pitches. So the importance of a pitch deck. The purpose is to communicate your business idea clearly and concisely to, of course, an audience, right? We don't want to focus on the investors too much, right? Even though they are the ones who do have the financial backing we're looking for. We're pitching to the audience because at the end of the day, someone in the audience may be your next customer, they may be your next co-founder, they may be your next team member, right? So the mindset of I have to get this pitch perfect for the investor is kind of the wrong way to go about it. You want to pitch to the audience. But then of course the purpose is to attract investors, stakeholders, or team members. A common misconception is that you can only pitch for money. You don't only have to pitch for money, you can pitch for team members, you can pitch for mentorship, you can pitch for a potential partnership, right? It doesn't only have to be money, you can think outside the box. And key elements of a pitch deck is a clear storyline. Maybe that's why Mona made it through to the export program, because she can tell stories, right? The investors, and especially when we are at the early stage of our business, investors don't necessarily invest in the business because there is no business yet. They invest in the person, right? So your characteristics, showing the passion and the personal drive and commitment you have to your idea or your business venture is what makes that investor say yes to you. Visual appeal. We're all visual beings, right? We like to look at things that look nice. Having a good pitch deck is always great with graphics, pictures, color, make it pop. And then the content is comprehensive yet concise. A pitch deck is not meant to be an essay or a report, right? You kind of just, you want to present, right? You don't want to have too many words on the screen because as soon as people start reading, they can't listen to you. They can't read and listen to you at the same time. So having minimal text is quite key in your pitch deck. So the structure of the pitch, and this is for a demo pitch, right? 3 to 5 minutes long. Typically, you'll produce a demo pitch with 10 to 12 slides, right? And each one of these points I'm going to list is a slide. So starting off with the greeting. Greeting is just, your greeting slide, right? I'll go back to the slides, don't worry. I saw that look. So this could be your greeting slide, and typically what's nice to have in your greeting slide is a tagline. We have businesses with taglines all the time. MTC, make the connection. KFC, finger licking good. Right? There's lots of different types of taglines. So typically at your greeting slide, you're going to introduce yourself, introduce your business, and state your tagline, which could be a little summary of what your business does. Then we get to the problem/phenomenon slide. So entrepreneurs exist because problems exist. And entrepreneurs in society are the problem solvers. So what is the problem that you are solving for? Is it food insecurity? Is it financial inclusion in the mining sector? Is it safety? I believe yesterday we spoke about the women's PPE, right? Right? So do you want to introduce a line of PPE for women? Right? So what is the problem that you're solving for? Now, it doesn't have to be a problem all the time. It can also be what's known as a phenomenon. So a phenomenon is when you're bringing innovation, something new to the table, something that hasn't been done before, right? An example of a phenomenon could be computers, right? Back in the day, we had computers that were fixed. You can't move around with it. It has to be plugged in. And these days, we have laptops. It wasn't necessarily a problem that the computers couldn't move, but with innovation, there was value addition to what we now know as the laptop. Or same goes for earphones. They used to be wired, now they're Bluetooth, right? And then on your third slide, you're touching on the solution. What does the solution do? What's the solution for? Who's it meant for? Right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So what is your solution? What's the solution to the problem? Then we move to your market and strategy. So these are two slides, but the two go hand in hand. So your market. What you really want to do with the market is validate either your problem or your solution. So you want to get market insights and data and do market research that validates that there is a problem. Using the example of the PPE, you can say something like, X percentage of women work in mines and they work in the core, the core thing. It was spoken last night at the gala dinner. So they're a driller, they're, on the mines. They need PPE. Let's just say it's 40% and there's no PPE. That indicates that there is a problem and there's market opportunity within that sector. Or there's a demographic that's being underserved, right? So within that market, you are validating the business case with insights, market insights. Then you get to the strategy. So then what is your approach to solving this problem? Are you going to open up a retail shop that sells the PPE? Are you going to be on a business-to-business model where you supply all of the mines with the women's PPE? That is your strategy. Typically, what investors also want to see within the strategy component is your business model. And your business model is basically a one-pager overview of your business's key activities, revenue streams, costs associated with the business, key partners, your target customers, your unique value proposition, right? What makes you stand out? What makes you unique? And so looking at the business model is focusing on strategy. These two slides are very closely related. Then we get to the unique value proposition. What makes your business unique? What makes it stand out? What gives it a competitive advantage, right? That's the unique value proposition. It can be things like, there's different types of what we call UVPs. One is called differentiation. Differentiation is how you are differentiating your product or service to the current market offerings that are available, right? So you can differentiate yourself through the type of quality of the product or service. It can be maybe convenience, it can be the technology, it can be accessibility, right? The UVP is completely dependent on your user, on your business case. And then we get to traction. So traction is looking at what has your business accomplished since its inception. So since you started with this idea, what has happened? Have you registered the business with BIPA? Have you gotten a letter of intent from a potential partner? Have you come through an entrepreneurship development program like Basecamp? Have you hired employees? Have you, what has the business done since its inception? Now, for some of us that are still in the ideation stage, so our business isn't operational, it's just an idea. How you can go about your traction slide is you can prove that your product or service has what we call product market fit. So it's a fit for the market you want to head into. And this is proven in 3 ways. The desirability of the product or service. So is it desirable? Is there demand for it? And are people willing to pay a price for it? Then feasibility. How feasible is it to go into this business venture, right? What are the financials looking like? How much does it cost you to produce 1 unit of your product or service compared to 100 units, right? And then the viability. So, look, that's mainly looking at your business model and your business sustainability. How are you going to remain relevant, or how are you going to maintain your business operations once you start them? And then we look at projections. Sometimes you may give them, sometimes it's not really needed, but projections are looking at what are the financial forecasts, what do you plan on making within your first year of operations. It's pretty self-explanatory, projections. And then the team. Investors want to know who's the crew of the ship, right? Who's running what? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Is the team capable? Do they have the necessary skill set, the necessary things that they need in order to make the business a success, right? And then the ask. So the ask is now your call to action. What do you want from the investor, from the audience, right? Do you want $1 million? Do you want a software developer? Do you want a relationship with a manufacturer? Do you want a mentor that can help guide you through this business life cycle, right? The ask is your call to action. What is it that you're looking for? And then your thank you. We're now bringing things to a close, bringing it full circle, and you can just end it off with saying something like, and using the example of PPE for women. If I get this $1 million investment, all of the mines in Namibia will have PPE for women, and all of the women in mines will be comfortable, be safe, have what suits them, right? You want to do a closing. So, pitching, you're telling a story. And like I said, at the early stage, the investor typically doesn't invest in you. The business idea can be great, it can be good, but mainly they invest in the person. So, you want to tell a story. You want to develop a narrative within this structure. And just looking at it from a basic level, the first 3 slides are your introduction. That's the introduction to your story. Hello, my name is Tiyamba. I was in the UK. I got my degree. I worked here. I worked there. And then you come down to your market strategy, traction, unique value proposition. That's your body, right? That's the body of your story. And then the last 3 points, team, ask, thank you, is your conclusion, where you're now wrapping things up and you are also referring to what you spoke about in your introduction, right? So we want to tell a story to investors. Common pitfalls of the pitch structure that people make is that you have gaps in the business knowledge. So you haven't really validated your business case, or there's some gaps within the business knowledge that you're trying to portray. And then there's gaps in the business idea within itself. So especially the unique value proposition. So sometimes people say, yeah, my unique value proposition is that I'm affordable, where you can do a quick Google search and you can find out, okay, you're actually not so affordable because your competitors are offering the same product or service at a lower price. So those types of gaps. And then gaps in validating the business idea with users in the target market. So you haven't actually spoken to the market you plan on serving, right? You haven't actually gotten their insights. A lot of the time, entrepreneurs who come up with ideas don't validate the ideas. Don't take it to the person who they want to sell to and say, what do you think of this product or service? They kind of skip the prototyping and testing phase and just jump straight into business, and then they have 100 units of their product with no customers, right? So validate the idea with users in the target market. And then not tailoring the pitch to different audiences, right? I've done this pitch training to early stage entrepreneurs, today to women. I've done it to business people in Kenya also. You have to tailor your pitch or your presentation to who you're speaking to, right? You have to relate to them in some way, because again, it is about the idea, but it's about you and how you communicate. And then taking liberties with the structure before confident. This structure is pretty much what they use on the international stage, right? And sometimes when the structure is played around with and moved around with, you don't really get to communicate as effectively as you would hope to. Because at the end of the day, when you're pitching, you're being judged. And you're being judged by a certain criteria. And within the structure, you get to hit every note of that criteria, and you don't want to miss a point. And you don't want to create ambiguity. You don't want to make people assume too much, right? So then another common pitfall is ambiguity in the content, so use of imprecise language. Maybe your slides are too wordy. Maybe you use too much repetition. And there's bold statements without references. I can't say, for example, 80% of mines in Windhoek have a workforce of 50% women. I don't know, right? That's a bold statement without a reference. I have no reference to say that. So reference your things, do the proper market research, and you'll build a strong business case. Okay, I'm just going to move on, just for the sake of time. Yeah. All right, now moving on to the pitch deck. So, with your pitch deck, you want the content to follow the pitch structure. Remember, it's all about the story, and that structure is best to develop a narrative. Then you want it to be highly visual. Not just text on the screen that's blank, right? People are not going to listen, they're just going to say, okay, when is this over? People want to see something, they want to look at something and then listen to the message that you're conveying and see how that image relates to what you're saying. And then minimal text. It's not an essay, it's not a report, it's a presentation, and you want to get the person's attention. It's tough to get attention with lots of text. Some of us don't like reading as much as others. So, visual and content best practice. On the visual design aspect, use high quality images and graphics, right? Maintain consistent branding and color scheme, and avoid clutter. And prioritize minimal text and high quality visuals. You're pitching in front of an audience. That audience wants to see something. They want to see, what is the PPE going to look like? They want to see, what does your target customer look like? Who are they, right? They want to see, what have you done so far? They want to see your business logo, right? What does the business logo look like? And then the content. Use data and statistics to support your claims. Like I said now, don't have a bold statement without a reference. Some statistics are shocking enough, right? But with the reference, they'll be much more believable. And then keep language clear, precise, and engaging. You're speaking in front of an audience, you don't want to use, and you don't know that audience's level of understanding of things. They could be highly proficient in some things, in some areas, and not so much in other areas. So, some technical businesses, you know, software businesses, they're talking about USSD, API, all of these things, and some people in the audience don't know what that means. What is the API, right? So keep the language clear for everyone in the audience and for people to actually understand what it is you're trying to do. Yesterday, I also did a pitch training for the National Council of Research and Technology, USSD, API, we are integrating technology to, you know, and they use these general things, but that doesn't paint the picture for us, right? We don't really get to understand what specifically is it you're trying to achieve here. So try to keep the jargon out of it to also meet the audience halfway. And then highlight key points and avoid excessive detail. Remember, the pitch deck and the pitch, the demo pitch, is more for general presentation. You don't have to unpack your 20-year plan, because you can't. You only have 3 to 5 minutes to make an impact, leave a good impression, and hope that somebody understands your vision and what you're trying to pursue, right? So highlight the key points and avoid excessive detail. So the common pitfalls of the pitch deck: unclear structure, or the structure is not synchronized with the pitch. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And then too many slides. Too many slides can hinder your pitch, because if you have too many slides, you can't finish on time. And most of the time, you're pitching because you're in a competition. They're not going to say, okay, Tiamba, just because you're struggling, take 10 minutes to do your pitch. No. You're in a competition most times, and the time is set, 3 to 5 minutes. So be aware of time, and don't have too many slides. Try to keep it within the structure, 10 to 12 slides, and try to make it mostly image-based, because remember, you're presenting to an audience. You don't want them to keep their eyes on the screen there for too long. You want them to keep their eyes on you and to listen to what you're actually saying. Then, use of basic PowerPoint templates. Everyone knows when you open PowerPoint, those templates are there, Matheson, the likes. Please don't use those, because it doesn't look, I don't want to say it doesn't look good, but it looks like you don't put in effort to make your pitch deck look nice. And since I'm speaking to the ladies have a good eye for design. A lot of the pitch decks that I see that are produced by ladies are great. The gents, we need some more, some more practice, but don't use the basic PowerPoint templates. And then images with no user rights or credits or poor quality images. So this is referring to, let's say you're using an image from this event, right? Credit. The Women in Mining Association of Namibia, they took this picture, right? Because it also gives context to the investor about the things that you're doing and the people that you're interacting with, right? So credit the images if it's that type of image. If it's, you know, more of a random image, it's not so necessary. And then poor quality. Don't use an image with watermarks or that's very pixelated, right? Use clear images. And then a lack of corporate branding. So you don't have your business logo on your slides. Then people don't know, what's this business? How do I spot it, you know? if you noticed, every left corner of my slides has the Basecamp logo, just there in the bottom left, so things like that. And then text issues. Too much text. I think I touched on this. It's a pitch deck. You want the person to look and then to listen. You don't want them to read. Typos in the pitch decks. Some English isn't our first language for a lot of us, but going the extra mile, double checking, proofreading, getting someone else to read what you've written can save you, because typos can happen. It's just a slip of the finger, right? So double check that, and then bullet points. A lot of people ask me, Tiamba, why should we not include bullet points in our pitch deck? We are trying to list something. We're trying to say, it's problem 1, 2, 3, 4. Lists take away from what you're trying to say, if that makes sense. Our eyes, it's a psychological thing. Our eyes, when we see bullet points, we're attracted to that, and we start going down the list, and we start trying to analyze that list. We don't use bullet points in pitch decks because, firstly, it's not that type of document, right? Bullet points are in lists, in some reports, and mainly used in Word documents and PDFs and the likes. We're presenting. And bullet points are also usually used to break up text, right? And if you feel the need to break up text, you have too much text. So we don't use bullet points in pitch decks. What you can use, right, if you want to list things, you can go for that type of method where you create a circle and you put something in it, and you can say problem 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can break up your slides in a unique way, in a creative way. Please don't use bullet points when putting together your pitch deck, because it's not the type of document, and it's usually an indication that you have too much text, because bullet points are used to break up text. Also on text issues, you want to stick to a bigger font size rather than a smaller one. Usually, during these pitch trainings, I take us through we review pitch decks, right? But for the sake of time today, we won't get to that, but just note that too much text, it can be easily too much text. Typos, very relevant. Let's just double check that in bullet points. Let's find more creative ways to structure what we want to say in more of a list form rather than using the basic bullet point. Okay, so tips for pitch delivery. Body language, very big indication of how you feel, right? So if your body language is insecure, the audience is just going to see insecurity, right? And they may also feel like, how secure is this person with their business idea, you know? Unfortunately, public speaking isn't for everybody. We kind of have to come out of our shells a bit. But body language is a key sign, and it shows really the confidence that you're displaying. Remember, when you're pitching, it's a confidence building exercise. Firstly, it allows you to do public speaking and interact with people and be on the stage and make eye contact with the audience. But it's confidence building for your audience mainly, because you want to build enough confidence in them to understand your business idea, to understand the value that you have to offer within your business. So remember, you're trying to build the confidence of your audience when you're pitching, to believe in you. And then time. Be aware of the amount of time that you have. 3 to 5 minutes for the demo pitch, that's it. There's no 6 minutes, there's no 7 minutes. It's between 3 to 5. So just be aware of time. And then the tech. You're going to be presenting. on a PowerPoint, on a projector, using a microphone, using a clicker. Just ensure that those things work. Arrive to, the venue early, double check. Okay, is this working? Tap the mic a bit to make sure it's working. Be aware of the tech that you're using. Usually you have to send through your your pitch deck. You have to send it through to the organizers of the pitch event. So you make sure, is this showing the same way it's showing on my laptop when I sent it through? Did some things change? I mean, for me, this changed. If you see there, by content, when I shared this presentation, that last point at content, highlight, that word was a bit more raised on my version. So these types of things happen, and some people have sent me pitch decks and the things are completely in reverse. So it happens, double check it, and try to have a backup plan, right, in case these things happen. And then your voice. You want to speak with your personality when you're pitching, because it's kind of you on display. You are an extension of your business. Sometimes they say, don't mix personal with business, but that's very difficult to do because you are the business, right? So speak with your personality. Don't try to put on an accent or something, because maybe halfway through the presentation, the accent, it goes down and down, right? So just speak with your personality. And then nerves. So we all get nervous. I was a bit nervous today. Heart was beating. Oh, the umpire parking, okay. Right? But you can look at things in two ways. Nerves are a result of either anxiety or excitement. So it's about making that mindset shift to say, I'm excited. I'm about to take my business to the next level. I'm about to inform people about this great solution, about this great pitch training, about whatever, right? Be excited rather than anxious. Mindset shift. And now I'd just like us to watch this pitch video of a Namibian entrepreneur who won this pitch competition. I believe it was in 2021 or 2022. And he won this pitch, 2021. Namibian entrepreneur, he went to Berlin to pitch this. And I just want us to very quickly see what he did. As you can see, it's 3 minutes long. And just pick up on some good stuff he did in that. Enjoy.
Breaking the wall of sanitation to reinvent the toilet. Kaveto Chachara, Falling Walls Lab, Namibia.
Hello everyone, my name is KV. I'm a One Young World ambassador. Flash is on a mission to provide innovative waterless toilets to schools in underserved communities. This is a picture of my grandmother. And no, she's not the problem, but in 2014, after many years of living in a big city, I traveled back to my home village close to Rundu, and while I was there, the harsh realities of people living in underserved communities really hit me as I watched my grandmother walk 2 kilometers for her to find some privacy and a bush to defecate behind. Unfortunately, this story is not an anomaly, as over 54% of Namibians practice open defecation, and globally, more than 4 billion people still lack access to safely managed sanitation. So, even if we zoom out from Namibia and go all the way to India, having a toilet is a basic human right that needs innovative solutions for it to scale to people like my grandmother. So, how are we breaking the wall of sanitation for us to reinvent the toilet? Firstly, we've worked on a business model that makes it financially viable for schools in underserved communities to have access to sanitation. We've used proven technologies like solar lights and sensors that we've put together in a unique product architecture and works simply in 4 ways. Firstly, the eco-toilet contains the toilet resources in a safe manner. Secondly, we have highly trained sanitation workers on a monthly basis collect the composting chamber. 3, transport it to our facility. And 4, finally, transforming it into biochar, which is a source of energy. And I think this is truly incredible. So, our eco-toilets are not only environmentally friendly, but they help restore the dignity of my people. So finally, one of the things that we're trying to work on is to build a product that is not only beautifully designed, we want it to be like the iPhone of toilets. So I returned back to my grandmother's village, and we've implemented this project at 2 schools, directly impacting the lives of 500 school children and generated revenue of 200,000 Namibian dollars. So I think the future is bright for us to help Namibia achieve SDG 6 by the year 2030. Thank you.
Okay. So, that was good, right? Yeah. So, he started off with a story, right? He said, this is my grandmother, and no, she's not the problem. Already that's pulling on our heartstrings a bit, right? It's not necessarily about the bit, it's about the story when you're pitching. What story, what is the narrative that you're going for? So, usually I like to do a little feedback session. What's something you can take away from Kabeto's pitch? Anyone, any volunteer?
The energy that he was presenting with.
Energy.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. You have to have energy, right? You can't go up there, hey, my name's Kabeto, this is my toilet. You know? Yes, ma'am. Confident. He knows his subject. 100%, and that makes us believe this guy is passionate about what he's doing. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. Let me just give this guy the money already, right? Because it's about the person. He also, what I really liked, as we know, his name's Kaveto Chachara. Where was he pitching? Berlin. What did he introduce himself as? KV. Yeah. Just those little things for the audience, because then the people in the audience are like, what's his name? Kavet, Chachara, you know? So it's things like that. He told the story of his grandmother, and he said, this is not an anomaly. My grandmother faces this, but so do X amount of Namibians. And then he took it outside of Namibia and he said, on a global scale, this is an issue for X amount of people. Then he touched on the solution. How do we do this? With 4 steps. We collect the waste, or we set up the toilet, we do X, we do Y, right? So he really touched on all of these points. The problem, what's the problem? We know it's not his grandmother, but people don't have access to toilets. The solution, a waterless toilet. Market and strategy, he touched on. X amount of people don't have access to use the toilet, right? The strategy, we're implementing this at 2 schools directly impacting the lives of 500 school children. That falls under his traction slide. His unique value proposition, it's a waterless toilet. After the waste is collected, they use it for biochar. Unique value proposition. Projections, he really didn't touch on, but like I said, that can be, depending on where you're pitching and the circumstances around it, you may or you may not include projections. Team, he kind of spoke on the team. He said we're working with these types of people. And the ask, he didn't say I want $1 million, and he didn't say I want more toilets. He said work with me so we can make this the iPhone of toilets, right? And then he wrapped it up with that thank you. If we work together, we'll achieve SDG 6 and the other one. So we see how that story was told, how we can encompass that story within the structure, And it's about the narrative. Okay, speaking on storytelling. So, have you heard of the hero's journey? Right? In a lot of movies, they use the hero's journey framework. The hero, first you set the scene. Okay, the hero is, have you watched The Pursuit of Happiness? Right? Classic movie, classic entrepreneur movie. Okay, what's the scene? Will Smith, I forgot his name in the movie, but Will Smith, he's working for a firm, he has a son, he has a business idea, and he wants to pitch it to his boss. He puts all of his money into this business idea, and his boss isn't even giving him 2 seconds, right, to just pitch this idea to him. So the scene is set. Will Smith has an idea, he has a son, he wants to pursue this dream of his. Challenges faced, his boss doesn't want to give him the time to pitch the solution, right? Then, throughout the movie, we start seeing he ends up becoming homeless, he ends up, being broker than broke, he's at his last thread. And then recognition of the problem. I think there's a scene then where he goes to the boss's house. He says, if I can't get this guy in the office, let me go to his house. Let me sit outside the house, see when he's there, and then quickly run to him and say, okay, sir, let me speak to you. Then the solution looks like this. He pitches his solution in the boardroom the next day in front of all of the board members, and then supported evidence, okay, that's different, but then the end of the story happens and it's great, right? So you want to take your business through the hero's journey. So set the scene. What is the business? Who's it for? How did you come up with it, right? And then a lot of entrepreneurs, they have challenges, right? I didn't have the money, so I started working in my garage. I had to sell my product or service for much less than I had planned to initially. We had an issue with our manufacturers, so we had to pivot, right? Then they recognized the problem. Okay, we pivoted from this manufacturer, or we started incorporating this value addition service. Then this is what the solution looks like, and it will allow for more of impact. It will allow for more impact. And then you support it with evidence, and that's now your market statistics. That's the evidence that shows there's a problem. Emotional engagement, you want to make it personal, right, to you. We want to use that same emotional connection that Kaveto had with his pitch. We know, or let's assume Kaveto has a toilet in his house. But Kaveto goes to bed every night knowing his grandmother doesn't have a toilet. That affects him, not directly, right? He doesn't have to go directly himself into the bush. His grandmother does. It indirectly affects him, but he has a personal connection to it. And this could also be relatable to a lot of us in the room, right? So, pulling on those heartstrings. Sensory details and imagery. Images, he showed us what his grandmother looks like, right? He showed us what the toilets look like, right? People want to see. People want to almost be immersed in your world, right? And you have to communicate that to them in a story, because with stories, we get more invested. When we hear stories, our minds start imagining things. And then conflict and resolution. So, contrast. What is the world like without your solution, and what is it like with your solution, right? And here you really want to set the stakes. In Kaveto's case, toilets, right? Everyone needs to use a toilet every day. What are the stakes if Kaveto doesn't implement his solution? People don't have toilets, right? So you want to kind of prompt people to to say this is kind of an urgent matter. This is something that has to be addressed. Women not having PPE has to be addressed because they're going to work all the time wearing the men's thing. It's not supposed to happen, right? So creating a sense of urgency. Then data-driven persuasion. So predictive analysis, have a forecast, indicate what are the market trends, what's the market opportunity. And then data visualization, graphs, show them. People like to see the data, compare them. Benchmarking, what are your competitors doing? What are you doing? Where's the standard within the industry? And how are you going to meet that standard and go above and beyond? Then return on investment. You're asking for somebody's money. What are they getting out of it, right? Is it social impact? Is it more money? Is it a potential synergy partnership? What is it? What are they getting out of it? Then personal brand integration, consistent messaging. So I said, you are your business. It's quite difficult to separate the two. The founder's personal brand and the business's brand. They can be separated, but at the same time, you want to keep them closely linked because this creates more trust. If I say entrepreneurship development programs don't work, and I work for Basecamp, you're not going to trust me to give you this pitch training, right? So you want to have consistent messaging, and that creates trust and credibility, and you want to encompass your experience personally and how they add to the business. Then personal stories, human connection. We touched on the personal story, of course, with Kaveto. So I think we know about that. Showcase your leadership, right? What experiences have you had that have made you into this person you are today, right? What are your expertise? How have you engaged with people in the past? All of that. And then your visual identity. You want to be a strong match for your business. If I'm following livestock and I'm speaking to you about agriculture, I might dress a bit differently, right? I might wear my fellies. I might wear that farm shirt, right? You want to be a strong match visually for your brand. Okay, tips for managing stage fright. A lot of us are confident with public speaking, but you can do this. Breathe, right? We breathe all the time, every day, but we take it for granted sometimes, right? And there's a breathing exercise, I know. For the sake of time, we're not going to do it, but it's 4 seconds inhaling, 4 seconds holding that breath, and then exhaling for 8 seconds. That really gets you into your body. I did this the other day with, like I said, the booster participants. One of the guys said, oh, I feel high now, right? So breathing, we take it for granted, but it can do wonders for us. Meditation. Meditating works for some of us. Me, not so much, right? But that's okay. Meditating works for some people. Closing the eyes, breathing, it works to calm down the mind and de-stress us. Visualizing. I'm a big fan of this. Last night, while I was sitting here at the gala dinner, I'm like, where am I going to present? Am I going to present on the stage? Am I going to present here? Am I going to walk down there and walk around the room and walk in between people? Right? You visualize yourself, and when it comes to time, you act it out. And you're more confident in acting that out because you've pictured it in your mind so many times. This is going to go like this. And then exercise. Sometimes we feel a bit jittery when we're nervous. Doing something as simple as going for a walk, a little 2 minutes stroll, but a bit brisk can get your body moving and make you feel a lot less nervous. Detach your self-worth from your performance. So basically this just means don't say, if I don't get the investment I need, or if it looks like people aren't focusing on me when I'm speaking, it means I'm a failure at life, right? No, detach that. Detach your self-worth from your performance because you can try again. You can go at it again. You know, life is for living and experiences, so take it as it comes. And then music. Music gets us in a lot of different moods and emotions, and listening to the right song at the right time can really get you confident, get you ready to do something. You know, in the movies we always see that people are training, doing something great. That inspirational music comes on. Okay, so what does ideal pitch practice look like? You have several drafts of a pitch script. So a pitch script is basically an outline of what you're going to say. We get movie scripts, we also get pitch scripts, right? Then several drafts of a pitch deck. You edit it. You say, okay, I'm using too much text here. This image is better than this one. Am I really highlighting the key points on this slide? Maybe not. Maybe I should change my color scheme. Maybe, you know, you amend things. And then you have several practice sessions, practicing with the pitch script, without the pitch script, with the pitch deck, without the pitch deck. Because you want to know your business down to the T. So, several pitch practice sessions in pairs, right? Maybe you have a co-founder. Practice. Shoot off each other in small groups. At the family dinner table. Hey, can we take 3 minutes to just listen to this thing I want to present to you? In large groups. In the workplace, we have our board meetings and we say, guys, can I just run something by you? I know it's a bit abstract and a bit crazy, but what do you think? You should. Then you do individual practice, of course, on voice notes and on video. This will allow you to see how much time do you spend on certain slides or topics and sections, and on video. It'll show you how your body language is, you know? Am I putting down my head like this when I'm talking about the problem? Am I stuttering too much when I'm speaking about the market, right? And this allows you to pitch anywhere, anytime, because you become more adaptable. You know your business down to the T, so that elevator pitch is much easier for you. You can just go in the elevator, okay, how can I highlight my problem and solution in 30 seconds to a minute? Yeah. So key takeaways from today's session is that pitching's an art, right? And nobody becomes a Picasso overnight. So practice, practice, practice is key. Storytelling is a valuable skill. We saw that with Kaveto. Structure is important because that's how we develop our narrative. And we are being judged. We have to hit certain points because there's somebody in the audience with a piece of paper saying, okay, is this innovative? No, I'll give them a 1. Wow, this is super innovative. I'll give them a 5, right? And then engage your audience. We don't want pitches to be hands in pockets, eyes on the ground, eyes up in the sky, standing at the back of the stage like this. You want to engage the audience. Make eye contact, move around, see people. Practice is key. The more you practice, the better you get, the more confident you get. And it's confidence building. Your confidence, but also building the confidence within the audience to see the value in what you're trying to do. And Q&A, pressure handling. You will be asked questions. Don't lie. Don't lie if you don't know the answer. If you receive some unfamiliar feedback, accept it and move on. If someone says something like, Tiamba, I don't like that orange that you guys use in the Basecamp logo or the Basecamp slides, I'll just say like, okay, thank you for your input. I'll take it under consideration, right? I'm not going to say, no, our color is orange. We like orange. You're not right for not liking orange, right? So Q&As puts people under a lot of pressure, usually because you feel like people are scrutinizing your business, but just look at it from the point of view to say, what are some questions that I left within my pitch deck that I can answer next time within the pitch deck, right? So that you don't have to go through that experience again. Thank you. I'm done. Any questions?
Coming up in business. This is an all-in-one service that you are basically presenting here to us. So thank you very much for that. What do we have to do to approach you? Do you have any specific packages that we should be looking at? And given that we've invited you, is there any provision made for the ladies here today?
Thank you for that question. So, I'm very excited to tell everyone, our programs are free.
Yay!
You don't have to pay a cent. We're an NGO, so of course we're non-profit, and we make our programs free for all entrepreneurs. And for women, more specifically, currently we're currently running a female-led only cook program for female entrepreneurs. And with that, Morna, who is one of our entrepreneurs, she's actually one of the experts on sales and marketing. So female experts and only female entrepreneurs. We have great female experts such as Morna, such as Nicole Mask, if some of us know her, Jamie Lee Nels, and more, who I can't think of right now, but we do female-only initiatives also, and it's free.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I wanted to just add on to that. When we extended the invitation to Basecamp, to Isaiah, my request to him was, there must be a way that we can partner up, you know, for future events and future anything. So I will make a small announcement after Ms. Kosi's speech about what we're going to do with all of this after the summit. So shall I just park that one for a second? Tuyama, you also. and then we will wrap it up in what will come out of this, because it is so key, you know. And again, Tuyama, shame. So I forgot to follow up. And this guy, it was a day. And so if the speech was long, it's not his fault. I had asked him to do a breakaway session. And then last minute, I said, no, it's only an hour, so I don't think he was able to change it in that. But we do thank you. I'm going to cut all the other Q&A short for now. Tesha, please, with your permission, we go have a deep break, and then we come back and then we wrap it up. Both of Ms. Kosi and then everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
2003. She's also been nominated as one of the G100 Women, South African country chair as well for sustainable mining. Particularly, as I mentioned earlier, in the capacity of WimBiz, she's the founder and executive chairperson. This organization was established to create a platform for women entrepreneurs, businesswomen, professional women as well, to be able to access business opportunities in the mining value chain. And I think since its inception, she spoke quite a bit about WimBiz, and without stealing from her presentation, she will share a little bit more as well as she comes on stage. She was selected as one of the 2018 top global inspiring women in mining by UK or WIM UK. Please help me welcome this powerhouse, Ma Nkosi. Thank you.
think today was just a very other people, because in this space, money talks. You know, so I'm going to take you through what it means to have a business, start a business, and then also to scale it up. I don't know, I have to.
What's happening?
Okay, I'm going to stand here. I hope everybody's going to be able to see me. I'll stand here. Can I? I'm not taking So, what you need to do is to understand the legal framework. I'm just assuming that everybody is interested in owning a mine and being part of it. And I'll tell you, with all the stuff that you're going to do when we finish here, you can even sell what you created, your license, your permit, and get serious money that can be a war chest, and then you go and invest in other projects that you like. So when you decide to get into mining, you need to understand any country. I put this specifically in Namibia, but any country, you've got to understand the legal framework. I stayed in this industry. When I discovered it, what I like, you can't do things willy-nilly. Everything is written down. So I like that, you know. You can't say, oh, I invented. No, we found these things. You just have to comply. So you've got to understand the legal framework that governs. It's very highly governed because economies of the countries are dependent on minerals. So you navigate the regulatory landscape. That is very key. And know the relevant regulatory authorities. Like starting with EPA, to all these that are minerals, Ministry of Mines and Energy, Petroleum Commissioner, I don't know why he's a commissioner here, but I saw that when I was doing research, and then environmental assessment professionals, and Petroleum Commissioner, for those that want to play in the oil and gas space, and then for sustainable development goals. It's very important for you when you're getting into business, whichever business, to understand what's the commitment that your country has done to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, so that you align your sustainability to that. So this is one thing that you have to know, and you have to know where to go for what. Okay, and then when the Namibia regulatory framework is for the extraction sector, is designed to ensure sustainable development, environmental protection, and equitable benefiting or a benefits sharing scheme that the people who own the mineral must benefit. So that's why today you hear everybody talks ESG. Starting and scaling business in the extractive industry, such as mining, oil and gas, requires careful planning, adherence to regulation. You cannot skip one area. I've done this in my country. That's why sometimes you find people who apply for rights or permits to mine, they abandon it. It just is too much for anybody to take. But stick it out, because you will make money at some point. And then and strategic execution. So now, I just mentioned this. I'm not going to go through it because I think you'll be emailed this. These are all the regulatory frameworks. You know, there's the acts. I'm not going to get into them. But trust me, you're going to have to comply with all this when you say, now, I want to get into mining. You will get to know them, you will learn. I'm not going to go through that. I know people now want to eat. You need to understand opportunities in the value chain. You know, when I get to speak to women at conferences, I like to put the slide, the value chain slide. Because we always hear women saying, I'm not going to get into mining or oil and gas. It's too difficult, it's too expensive, and it's too technical, and it's not. Once you understand the value chain, you know that I can even supply screws. You know? So once you understand the value chain, you find your space. And you can even do the lower things whilst you're upscaling to do the bigger things. So you've got to understand the value chain in mining. That is the uranium, diamonds, and base metal. Base metal, that's zinc and copper, and rare earth elements. So these are all the opportunities that are there. Renewable energy integration, you're just talking solar. I mean, I just had a woman who got a contract in South Africa to clean solar panels. I didn't know that. So you have to you've got to research and understand. Because this information, you are going to use it to do that pitch when you're now looking for investors or partners. And then there's opportunity also in energy storage now that we're going towards moving to green energy. So there's hybrid also. And sustainable practices. In ESG, you don't have to be a technical person to do that. Because it's environment, it's social, and then it's governance. And then technology and innovation, those are the things that you've got to understand that this is somewhere where I can play. There's legal, there's everything. Now, this is what I need water. I'm sorry about this. I'm on medication, I get very dry. Now, this is going to handle this. Okay, starting a business in the extraction center. An extraction is anything that you dug or you dig. I don't do this one. I love it. Yeah, this feels much better. Somebody mentioned, one of the presenters today, about market research. Before you even do anything, you have to research. And you've got to understand. I will tell you that there are low-hanging fruits in mining. I would advise anybody who wants to get into it that choose those minerals that are above, like lime in this country, I don't know what is above. But those that actually, they don't need a structure for you to start mining. So you conduct research and feasibility studies. Now you know what is it that you want to do. You want to mine uranium, you want to mine whatever the minerals are here. So this stage is very, very critical because it gives you confidence. And remember that you're going to be unpacking this when you're pitching to funders. You're still going to go funding. This is just for you to get to the stage where you have a project. You don't have a project yet. So you have to do the risk assessment, identify mitigating strategies for the risk, and then you're going to have to look for funding. And funding is you've got to be creative, you've got to understand. You'll talk to people who have done projects like myself and other people to say, what are the other mechanisms of raising money? The angel investors, hardly in mining, because it's capital intensive. But there are private equity companies. And what I discovered, private equity companies are the best because of their horizon. They come in, they like greenfields or brown. They like to take the projects up the value curve, exit and list. So once you partner with them, they will come in. Let's say, for instance, now you've got your license, and they come in and partner with you. They're going to take, they call it farm in. They're going to take some of your equity, but it's okay. It's okay because at the end of the day, when this project is being listed, it's huge. You're talking about, I don't want to mention numbers. So they are the best for me because the investment horizon is around 5 years. So they come in, they ramp up, they list, they go. So you have to be very creative here. There are other government funding. I don't hope there's no budget. I don't deal with government when it comes to quite a few things because there's different program, progress, and then international organizations. But once you know that you're going to need funding, you play around, talk to people who've done it before. And then once you've done all this, you are now going to be establishing your operations. It's about location. You'll find that when you're applying for a prospecting right, a mineral, a permit, whatever you're applying for, I'm not going to get into what is a permit, what is the right. It's another chapter. So when you establish your project, you've got to make sure, and this kills a project when you go to funders, you've got to make sure that you've got the infrastructure right, the location. It might look nice, it's next to what, but access to it is zilch. that project is dead in the water. So you might as well exit very early. And then you're going to go to the stage of infrastructure now. When you have funding, there's no problem. But you will not get funding if your project is located at the wrong place. Could be how nice technology and equipment, and it's important for you to bring skilled workforce. You can't bring your cousin who's been unemployed for a while and is waiting for you to start a money and he knows you're going to start. No cousins here. Cousins must be certified. Okay, so now the advantage is why you would scale up. So this was very quick for me because I just wanted us to have a conversation after this. You can ask questions and all that. So why would you scale your business? Now you've chosen your site. You have your investors and everything. Now you're running a business. And these are the advantages of scaling your business. And scaling a business is that you take this business that you've been running for 5 years to there, So why you should be doing that? It increases your revenue potential. You'll find people who have been running businesses for 5 years and their turnover is still 5 million. You failed. Something wrong that you're doing. And then diversified income stream. You are going to have a diversified income stream when you diversify your business. And then that gives you a buying power. Like for instance, cost efficiency. You can now negotiate because you're no longer buying for one mine or one business. You're buying for 3, for 4. Because now you have diversified, and diversified can be achieved through collaboration and partnerships and bringing investors. And don't be, I can't say, I don't want to say stupid, I'm sorry about that. What's the right word? Why I say that is that, I've seen this happening so many times, that you've registered your company, you've now done all the legal work that you have to do, and you're now looking for investors. And investors come and say, oh, okay, what's the skin in the game? That's what they want to know. How much did you put in here? What did you achieve? So the investors would want that, and then you've been 100% shareholder of nothing. And then they come and say, we're taking 60% of this business. But with the regulation, thanks God, they can't take more than 51. But trust me, it does get to that. Slowly they sneak in. So you started 51, 49, and you know how they slowly sneak in, you don't have the money. So they will say, we're going pro rata on this project. So pro rata means, if we need 100 million, you will bring your 51% of the 100 million. Where the hell do you get that from? And then you get diluted and diluted. But you know what? Don't walk away. Be diluted. Have a scale to say, I will never dilute to this point. I'll tell you when I started getting into my first deal was also in coal, like coal. And we were 100%. We did exploration. We took it from the greenfields and we didn't know, we were women. We thought we walk in the bank and the bank would just say, oh yeah, you're black, you're women, you're mining this mine. And unfortunately, mining or any extractives is still the most difficult sector to access funding or anything. You hear that there's preferential procurement, it doesn't exist here. When you do the compliance that we're going to get into also, when you're doing your compliance with the Department of Mines and Energy or Minerals and Energy, whatever we call them, you're going to have to comply like Anglo-American or DPS. When you have to do an environmental impact assessment study, there's no preferential treatment because you get proper consultants. So it's a very difficult space. So you all have to be open-minded to know that I might end up only 10%, but what's the value of the 10%? So you need to, so that comes with a diversification. And you will check the marketing, the competitiveness and of your project, you know. Large footprints bring negotiating power in procurement. This is what I was talking about, to say, I'm buying this. I was buying one of these every 3 months. Now I'm buying 30 of these every month. You know, because I've grown, I've got investors, I've got a chip on my shoulder now. And I can actually negotiate. Now, why also you have to, right now, if you don't innovate and do R&D to scale up your business, you're not going to make it. So, innovation and R&D, that's research and development, provides resources for research and development and innovation when you upscale. And access to new markets, when you decide that, and don't think of upscaling when you don't have to upscale. You have to be ready for it. Because when you upscale, you've got to have a very solid project or company to sell. Selling meaning the pitch. Attract new investors, and then long-term sustainability. You'll be in business for a long time. I mean, I started the coal mining company. When was it? Sure, a long time ago. I'm still involved, and I wouldn't have been. And people always ask me, Kosi, what, this deal, you were 100%, you ended up being 20%, and now you are not running the business. Did these white people take it away from you? That's language, you know. But I know, because the important thing when you get into business, why are you doing it? And not all of you will start projects in mining. You might not have to start mining processes, you might be suppliers, you know, so that's okay. But if you have an appetite like myself and other people, I'm bold. So I just do these impossible things. So business scaling in the extractive industries is that you have to constantly improve efficiencies. You can't just upscale without that. And then diversify, you know? And you strategic partnerships, you collaborate with other companies, collaborate with suppliers, and with some local governments, you know, you can collaborate. Marketing and sales, you know, it's now your brand will be known globally. I mean, I today, with the company that I started, my name is synonymous to that brand, you know, and you want to carry to do that. So when you are scaling your business, and you know, these are the things that you do, and your sales strategy, you build a strong pipeline of business or projects, and then you continuously monitor and adapt. You adapt to the environment. Like right now in coal in South Africa, you adapt or you die. You know, there's decarbonization right now. Government, is the Department of Energy, you've got, and the SO is ESCOM. If you were supplying ESCOM with coal for the past how many years, and now you're about to renew your contract, and they want to know what are you doing, what's your strategy towards decarbonization, what's your strategy toward producing clean energy. So you're constantly looking forward. And if you don't do those things, you're going to be obsolete. So what we did, I think it was maybe 4 years ago, we looked at it and we then built other plants next to where our plants are, and they are mobile. But all that you do it when you're upscaling and now you have money. So those plants are all mobile, so we will take them from one place to the other. So you have to adapt with technology and actually embrace it. And then you continuously monitor and adapt. I talked about that. Sustainable commitments are very, very key. And I always see, because we have partnerships with the organization that promotes small-scale mining. I think it's here. And they asked me to run a workshop one time and about the social and labor plan. That is always confused with social responsibility. And I started talking about ESG, something that I'm very passionate about. And most of the small businesses, if you wish, or new entrants in mind, they're like, no, I can't do that. I don't have money for that. So later on, I will implement this, and you're wrong. When companies give you contract, let's say Exxaro says to you, Exxaro is one of the big coal producers. There's a tender. Then you tender as a coal producer, a small one, that is small scale. You tender, and then they want to know how are you going to assist us to meet our obligations of the UN Sustainable Development Goals that we've made. And you can't say on the tender sheet or document, I'm small and black. You know, you have to, even if, before you even do it, you've got to have a statement of intent that this is what I'm going to do. So ESG is for everybody. In your space, you find what is it that you can do. You can do some environmental thing in the area that you are operating, but you have to. I mean, sometimes you find that you're taking visits to small-scale miners. The workers are not wearing any form of PPE, and they say they don't afford. So if you can't afford, then you really going to lose your permit or license. So that is a time when you realize I have the skill, I have the track record, I have to now upscale, and you look around you. That's why all the time networking and knowing who does what. You then look around this room. I don't know who's who here. And the statement that I've made before in South Africa to say we were complaining about the government didn't take care of women in the latest charter. And I stood up, it was a room full of women, and I said, you know, I'm just tired of us women feeling sorry for ourselves, getting into this pity party syndrome. We need to do things for ourselves. We need to do that. So I said, in this room, there's an environmentalist, there's a metallurgist, there's a mining engineer, there's everything. We can start a small-scale mine. I said, can I see the hands who is up to the challenge? Nobody lifted their hands up.
Sure.
You know, you're scared, you don't know what it means. So that's why organizations like our organization, WIMPIs in South Africa, and women here in Namibia, those are the organizations that will hold your hand and take you through, because it's scary. It's scary out there. And you're dealing with women, but trust me, without being arrogant and undermining people, you can succeed in this space. And when you're going this route, I don't know whether now you're saying I have to stop talking. So I was talking about ongoing networking. You know, we have networking sessions, and somebody was saying, why are you doing so many networking sessions? Because our members want it. I mean, we've even graduated now to fire chats. Fire chats, you look at your members. You know, we have categories of members. Those that just started, those that are already up there, turning over 20, 30 million per annum, we have those. And those are the people that are ready for fire chats. And fire chats are like, you call a CEO of a company, 2 CEOs, and you have 10 women around the table, you host them. And they asked these CEOs, how did you get to where you are? And that's very, very important, you know, to network. And ask me how I did it. And I'll tell you my flaws. I'll tell you my mistakes, and you know, you can repeat them, or you can learn from them. So, like I said, I want us to have a conversation. Next slide is questions and answers. So basically today, what I was trying to say to you is that now that you are here, it takes this meeting and this event for you to look at and see the possibilities. You know, if you didn't attend this, you wouldn't know some of the things that we shared in these past 2 days. But today, for me, was, and I'm glad they put me at the end, was a strategy. Especially when I look at what, I looked at what happened today, that you were being prepared. I could see some of you were like, what the hell is she talking about? When this woman from BIFA was here, you know? And people were very confused. I mean, when it came to the pitch, I could tell that, okay, he's going to have to do one-on-ones at some point. But it's okay. Keep on attending the networking sessions, And even if women did not do anything, get together. Get together, that's when you will hear. And really, and truly, I always share my email, sometimes my telephone numbers. It's not overwhelming sometimes, but I coach, like I said, I mentor all the time. So what I would like to, so what I was here for is to say to you, you can be a miner. Literally, you can be a miner. You don't have to be on the cold face. You can be anywhere. There's opportunities. So one day, Zinzi will invite me to come back and just present a whole value chain. And you will see the opportunities. What I do, that's my favorite slides. Because by the time I finish, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know this is what I can do, And that's what, I'm prepared to work with Zinzi on that. So I hope this was very helpful. Like, it might be confusing, but you're on the right track. For the fact that you're here, you're on the right path. If I didn't confuse you too much, do you have any question? And ask me any question, even if it's something that was not here. It's related to the topic.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for that very, very insightful presentation.
Thank you.
I just have one question. So obviously, before you get to the mining stage, exploration has to be done. And we have a lot of interest from our locals to hold these EPLs. However, the challenge remains access to financing. Because to develop the resource, you need the technical expertise and so forth. And we all know that exploration is an extremely risky business. And I find a lot of the times that we get these requests, and I think the ministry as well, is that we have EPL holders, but they do not have the means to actually take that further. And a lot of the time that stepping stone is just access to the right investors and the right people that have that money, which oftentimes I think they can seem very far away or unreachable because they're not in the country right now. So what is your advice to the aspiring woman who has an EPL and would like to develop a mine to really get access to those key people that have the money to help us develop the resource?
Okay. As you start to apply, you creating value. You drill one hole, you creating value. So at the stage when you now have this EPL, you look for, that's where your angel investors are. You look for some guy that you know has a lot of money to invest. Because there's no bank, there's nobody who can give you that money. Be creative around it. Find people who might be, and you're going to have to going around and selling your story. Doing your pitch to say, I have this, it has a potential, I have EPI, but I can't continue. Can you assist? So there are people who would come in, but you've got to be able to give something. And they will take you from here to there. And then when you are there, the project has got now a bit of value. And they now, it is easy for you to take it from here to there with this angel investor and then take it, because also when you go for angel investors or people who are high net worth individuals, they've got some kind of appetite for risk. So, and then how do I get into mining? They get into mining because of you. So you need to know them, you need to start talking to people to say, hey, we need to do this. And then also when you're going to, I don't know whether here there's some organizations in South Africa where they will then market your project to people who have money. So when it's still down here, also visit the private equity companies. They have an appetite for this because of their investment horizon. They'll come in, they'll hold your hand. And at a certain stage, your project can be at the Mining Indaba and other conferences where there's a pitch. And investors here, and you sit and you talk about where you are. I think you've got to be 10 years or something. So we started, we took over a mining license from a mining company. We didn't take it over, actually we applied and we got it. And we were stuck with the money. You know, sometimes you have to be prepared to put in money. And at the early stage, you need an environmentalist and a geologist. And you say, you know that. And you say to a geologist, there's this that I have, and this has a potential. Do you want to come in with your services and be partner? You have to be able to give equity. And then even that environmentalist and a geologist knows that when we get to BFS, we all laughing to the bank. We all laughing. BFS is, I tell you, everybody comes to you and they say, oh, what do you want? You know, you are bankable, that is. So be creative around that, you know. Find an environmentalist who launch the application, find a geologist who go and do the scanning of the environment and those reports. She is sitting here. And be creative around it. But I know it's a very difficult environment, but when you hit it, you will definitely find somebody. Talk to the CEOs, the very executives in the mining. You know, yeah, I can't say, it's a difficult space, that one, but you can be creative. Bring the technical people. Have I answered you? Yes. Thank you. Somebody else? Don't be embarrassed, just chatting. So that's fine. Maybe you want to talk to me on the side, I don't know why. But
we had wine last night, we were not here.
Wine?
Never mind.
Oh, okay. Now you're talking. All right, then I assume that it will take a while to sink in. But what I want to say to you, I mean, some of you are the wrong, you know, the road is still wrong. You still have to do the paper thing. Because for you to be able to apply, you must have a company, you know. And you've got to keep your company clean. And another advice that I'm going to say to you, don't mix your, if you're intending to have an EPL like you talk about, don't include everything in one pot. Your events management company, keep it there. Because this you're building serious wealth there. You might be lucky to find an investor now, and they said, okay, we want you and this, and we want to take over everything. And then when they start looking, there's a catering company inside, there's a care company. So they have to unbundle this whole thing. It will delay the deal. And that. So ladies, thank you very much. And oh, yes. Any questions?
Good.
And then the first thing that you have to do now is to lodge an application with the mine. You lodge an application. That will probably be 75,000 rands. If you're a group, really, you know. So this consultant that I say, another way is to say, we want this. Can you come in with your skills? So she has a stake. She's not working for you. She has a stake. So she does the environmental. Then the geologist comes. She also has a stake. That's another way of doing it. But if you say how much, it's very difficult to put it because when your project goes up, you've got to have environmental guarantees. And environmental guarantee is aligned to the life of mine. That becomes the big monies. Yeah. So that's when you're talking to the big boys now. Yeah. But starting just to have that prospecting right, 75,000 rands is enough. And you can go to Mashonisa. So, yeah, it's not very difficult really, it's not it. As you scale it up, it becomes very expensive. Yeah, because of all the requirements. Unfortunately, you have to do one to get to the stage. But your dream is to get to BFS. You can do anything when you're there. And then also there's something that you can mine a box cut. Before you even start mining plans and data, you can mine a box cut when you get to which stage. After environmental authorization, there's another stage. You can start mining 1, 2, as long as it's open cast. So you mine what is called box cut and you can sell. Then you have money to ramp up. Okay. Did I answer you?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, ladies. I think this is enough for the day. Unfortunately, I'm leaving tomorrow. Trust me, when Zin said here now, I'll be here.
75,000. Yes, that's saving now. All right, there's power in the masses. Thank you so much, Ma'am. She's available. She has availed herself for further questions. So please, for those that did not do the 448 method, as was previously said, not to ask your question, please feel free after the session just to ask her a few questions. So we will be wrapping up the session now, and I would like to call upon Zenzi to do what is called a call of action. We've been inspired, motivated, equipped, so now we need to be called to act. We cannot just sit and soak. We need to do, to be those change agents.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something powerful about that sound. So ladies, you know, every conference has to, you have to get, I don't know what to talk now, but I'm not going to cry, so don't worry about that. Shame. I wanted to just remind us of why we called the summit. The thank you will come afterwards, but we called the summit because we had a primary, the goal was to provide a platform for all of you to share, well, for the speakers to share the success stories, then to discuss the challenges, and together develop strategies on how we can mitigate these challenges. And I love the fact that the leadership was here. I love the fact that the Deputy Minister came back this morning again because she was so intrigued by what we were discussing. She asked for the program, and I'm going to have to give feedback to her on the ultimate outcome of this conference. We have a very, very, one of the most expensive parts of the conference is what we call rapporteur services, because we want a report, a proper report, a summary, minutes, if you want to call it that needs to be taken back to you, to those who invest in the summit. And so that particular service was actually sponsored. So we promised to share this with everybody, and it will make my life easier whenever we feedback to both the Ministry of Mines and Energy as well as to the Chambers of Mines. That's what they requested. So because they now want to know, you've now discussed this thing, what is the next step? So we also wanted to foster collaboration and exchange ideas amongst professionals, entrepreneurs, and policymakers. And as I mentioned, they were here and keen to hear what we were talking about. The summit offered a very unique opportunity for women not only to gain visibility, but also to network. I mean, you networked this over the past 1.5 days. Last night we did. I know that there were a lot of hookups made, people who's going to have callbacks. I know that we also, even the dancing group that was here, they were just here for 10 minutes, but they've got 2 or 3 gigs booked already. And that ultimately was what I wanted to do, people to hear and see each other. Kesha, I was asked, who's that lady? I want to use her for her voice. Here you are, we've got the Mining Indaba, Zainab is here, and one of the things we're going to, part of the partnership that we were talking about last night is to look for female speakers at the Mining Indaba, because we want the presence of African women to be felt at the Mining Indaba. So they were watching who are these female speakers. I'm tasked with putting that list together, and I have a deadline Friday. I won't say Monday, I promise by Friday I'll be done. The moderators were checked out and see how they can be used at the Mining Indaba. The MCs were also checked out. So we were very strategic in how we put everything together. I shared the story to the speakers. I invited the speakers I just didn't know how to put it together. But when the program was put together, I remember I moved around Bencia and Nikki. I was like, yeah, this looks good. But at the end of the day, even as today, it literally summed everything up. And it was literally how I wanted to see this thing come to forth. Like, starting from those who are putting skin to the game, and those who are putting skin to the game in business leadership, and eventually also how do I marry the government and private sector with us as civil society. I think that was one of the most powerful ones for me, how to take it forward. We also wanted, ultimately what we wanted to do with the summit was to create a ripple effect where more women are empowered to take on leadership roles. Okay? Also take on entrepreneurial roles. Now let me tell you about that. When I was on the mine, for those 16 to 18 years, I don't remember, the idea of entrepreneurship scared the heck out of me. I'm like, so you mean I must leave the security of my paycheck every month? That 25th or how much ever the train comes and I'm giving that up for a train once a month or maybe once every 3 months. That idea was, but I'm hoping that after listening to these speeches today, for the past 1.5 days, that you are able to, you can do a side gig. I will advise her, hey Charlotte, yeah, maybe have a side gig and then graduate into a, but that's what I wanted to see, a ripple effect, that it really expands the way we think as women. And then I also wanted to create a ripple effect where more women bring your skills and perspectives to the forefront of these sectors, the mining sector that is. So, what was the hope we had for you as attendees, especially young women? Brandy, I'm glad you're still here. And by the way, it's not every day that you host a conference and on the last day it's still filled. Like, this is for, thank you. This is honestly people's compliments is to see such an engaging audience till the last minute. Well done to you. But what we wanted, because like I said, this is something we've been working on for the past 2 years. Will this work? What are we going to do about it? And ultimately what we wanted is women to leave the summit feeling empowered, inspired, and equipped with practical tools to succeed. You know, it's not a thing about just sitting in your office somewhere, or if you're a truck driver, you're driving that truck, and thinking, oh, when will the shift end? I want you to walk away thinking, how will I affect the change? How will I start my business tomorrow? Or how will I, whatever. And one of the key takeaways we wanted to do was to provide a deeper understanding of the vast opportunities there are in the sector. So it's not just about you sitting in that office. I remember when I started, I wasn't with you, Kesha, I was always saying, you are a metallurgist, not by accident. You have a specific role to play. And your role as a metallurgist is, for example, I want you to think beyond just being a chemical engineer for then it was Dundee. What are you going to do, because you spent 4 years getting that degree? And I know you were busy with some other stuff as well, but what are you doing with that qualification? If you're Brandy is doing worldwide engineering, and she's studying that at the moment, but what is her idea further on from there? And so I want you to walk away with that. But most importantly, I think it was Weston who said that we need to change the narrative to basically take on entrepreneurial roles, and that was a good one, but I want you to understand why you must take on entrepreneurial roles in this. And remember, ultimately I say, the role that we play as women in the economy of our countries, that part is what you have to remember the most. So I remember when I was a field geologist with De Beers, and who's from the south here? So I worked at Bogenfels. It's a small exploration camp. It's not a massive mine between Lüderitz and Oranienburg. And I was there in the camp, and the wind there was crazy. I remember I had dreadlocks. So now you're putting the sand is in my hair, and I was going to try and get the sand out of my hair. Only you know, if you've got dreadlocks, how it is intense. And I had to then remember that this diamond that I'm looking for, the effect it has on the economy of the country. And then eventually, I mean, there were, some kind of bullying and stuff like that with guys. I was like, I ain't going nowhere. I ran. Because the skill I'm bringing to get that diamond out of the ground, that diamond is going to pay for the future education it's really going to bring. So when you start thinking of why you are in that role, it makes things different. It makes the whole thing of, oh, I'm being bullied and I'm not getting enough money, I don't get enough money, it makes it worthwhile. Okay, where was I? Yes. And then I want you to remember, again, there's this whole saying about think local, act global. So there is a global push for sustainable energy. And we all know that Africa's rich resource base, there is a huge potential for you to tap into that. So when you think about yourself sitting at B2 Gold or at Oshigoto Mine, or you are at Navakhap and Karibur, think of yourself as, what if I join the gold mine, the Skibali Gold in DRC? Next year we're going to bring the entire Awima here. So how will you, just think about, that's what I wanted to do, okay? But most importantly, we wanted the attendees to walk away with not just knowledge. Okay, you got so much knowledge over the past couple of days, and when we put the report together, it will be even more knowledge you're gonna have. But we wanted you to have actionable insight, and that's what I'm gonna come to now with the action call for action. But you've learned a lot, okay? And but also what I wanted you to know, and that's I think why I got so emotional yesterday, is for you to realize that you are not alone. You are not alone. There is a growing network of women, and just at each table, and I love that exercise you did in the morning, Kesha, because we didn't know each other. For example, somebody will from that table to me, but there's a growing network of people with the same challenges, but how do we, or the opportunities. I wanted you to get to that as well, and you must know that we really support each other while working on a bigger thing. Now, I want to tell you the importance of sisterhood. On this table here, you're seeing 4 powerful women. I was just, when you did the introduction for Sikosi, I realized 3 of us are WOM UK, what is it, WOM 100, what is it called? Inspirational women globally.
Yeah, global women in mining. Inspirational women in mining.
Georgette 2016, is it? I was 2018 and I was 2021. But I remember meeting these ladies in different aspects. With Georgette, we met in Accra when we were voting for the new president of the association. And me and her were new, we didn't know each other. And at the end of the day, we're standing next to each other because we've been nominated for the presidency of the association. And we looked at each other like, do you even know this woman? No, okay. but since then, the two of us, me and her, have been working a journey of why we need to have these associations. Kosi, I met at the 2018 Botswana something conference. Now, but the Botswana Women Mining Association started because of what Namibia had done. And then we met at Malabo's conference, and we've been speaking, I think, 3 years consecutively, and every time I meet her, she says, do you own a mine yet? I said, no, in Namibia it's very difficult. She goes, start one. And then so that sisterhood. I shared about Pascaline, because she was one of the founders of Awima, and here we are today taking this thing on another level. Like I said, Zainab is an addition to this group, but she realized the importance of bringing African voices to Indaba, and that's the kind of network I'm talking about. You have realized just today, what each and every one of you carry. So how are you going to connect those dots? Okay, that's the one thing. So call for action. The first thing I want you to do, if you are not a member of Women yet, become a member. And somebody asked me, how do you do it? So, Bertrand, thank you for insisting on the ticketing system and the registration. So we collected all your email addresses. One of the first things we'll do, please don't ask me tomorrow, maybe in a week. I'm going to rest because putting this thing together was quite crazy. So in the next week and a half, we will be flooding your inboxes with information. The first thing we're going to share is the link to the registration form. Now, those who are already members, we have improved the information we are collecting, so please re-register if needs be. Some of you have. On there, we are asking you questions that will help us develop activities around your specific need. Earlier, I reminded you of the 4 types of women. We are the large-scale miners, the artisanal small-scale miner, the entrepreneur, as well as the student. On paper, Namibia has the Namibian mining industry. There are 2,000 women, maybe a little bit more, because that was 2018 stats, isn't it, Lauren? 2,000 or so women registered, employees in the mining sector. Now that number refers only to employees, isn't it? I mean, so it's basically, you get that information from the Employment Equity Commission. That's the stats currently available. So of those 2,000, 789 of you are registered as members of WIMAN. Now, we want that number to increase to more than 2,000. Then that's just the employed women, those who work for the various mines. And then I want you to go out there and spread the news to the 3 other types of women. Of the 789 women registered, around 70, means where are you? About 70 or 80 of them are small-scale miners, right? From that project we did in 2018. About 80 of them are small-scale miners. And then only 10 are entrepreneurs. And it's not your fault, it's because there hasn't been much activity about it. But I want that number to increase so that when I go back to the minister and the deputy minister and everybody else who wants to know about this association, we can say proudly we are 10,000 women members who are registered. And then on that list you will see we ask questions like, how long have you been in the industry? What are your qualifications? And the reason for that is when we have events like this or Indaba calls for speakers, we'll be able to say, oh, I've got a group of engineers and this is the qualification. Off you go, kind of thing. Okay. Brandy, I'm going to put you on the spot here. One thing we couldn't launch was the student chapter. And she asked me last night, what are you doing for the youth? I'm like, no, not the youth, the students, the aspiring women in mining. So we're going to get together so you can get all the students and we'll give you all the tools you need for that. What we need, and as Sikosi spoke about Wimbus and their objectives, right? We don't want you to go form another association. Get a chapter for the business leaders, Vincia. For all the business leaders, Linda, all the business entrepreneurs. So we can, when we sit together, have a collective thought. Because you don't want to flood the policymakers with various voices. You want to speak to the EXCO, and this EXCO then goes and gives this, not just challenges, but also opportunities with these people. Okay. And lastly, what I want you to do, one of the things we touched on yesterday was unconscious bias, and my lady here from Sako Uranium touched on what I call the Queen Beeism. Now, I'm very, very passionate about this specific topic. The obvious lack of Namibian representation. Last year, we were able to take Liana Bok from Moonstone. You don't know her? Yeah? Bok. Oh, okay, yeah. So she basically has turned, she's taken all the gemstones from small-scale mines and turned those into jewelry. Silver and aquamarine, whatever, and then she was able to take this to Zambia and got some amazing feedback. And I think her next visit was to Egypt for that big one last year. So, so we just want to recognize you for, or everybody else here really, but not everybody's here. Sharon and Pastor couldn't make it. We'll send their certificates with Zebra and somebody else. But yeah, so Minzo, a small token of appreciation for your contribution to WIMAN and those endless Wednesday meetings. Thanks, a small follow-up. Legal, even in our personal capacity, Charlotte has been taking care of our legal affairs, but most importantly of the association. A lot of our, the Constitution, I think we drafted pretty much on your own, with voluntary inputs from us. So yeah, Charlotte, up pressure, I shall. Being the only man who said yes to this engagement, so we can show other men that this is not a woman-only thing. Tuyamba didn't even think twice, guys. Like, he just said, I'm here, and and we'll call on him for more of this. Tuyamba, please come on stage and get a little bit of some fun. Thank you very much, my friend. I don't know, I know I put you on the spot for this, but you are a champion, so thank you very much. Yeah, so you can stay on the stage. And then, But I'm reading the name, and I know that I struggled for years with it, but there's something I missed here. It says Esther Omba. Pascaline, please. So Esther means wife of Omba. So in Cameroon, you don't just say Pascaline Omba, you must say she's the wife of Mr. Omba. So please, Pascaline. No, you're not speaking up from Yeah, so the G is a silent G on the surname, please. So don't go and butcher the woman's name. Just say your name, please. Today got my house is last night already, right? So, but please come on anyways. This is Kosi. See, I didn't put that very big one, Marcos Osana. No, I know you as Kosi. So we put on here, Kosi, please come on stage just to get a little appreciation from us. But, and I don't have cooperation. But if I can have Linda on stage as well. Guys, Linda's story, we didn't do it much justice, but I think that we will have moments where she will. We met at the launch of the Women in Green Hamilton, and we worked together actually at Namdeb. And when I knew her back in the day, she was just sitting somewhere in a corner. And when I said to her, "What are you doing?" I said to her, "You have to come and share your story." Linda, please come on. Your certificate is still in printing. We went out of, to be honest, funding to print the certificate. But please join us on stage. I have to get Mona. Who do I want to share how you got onto this thing? Mona called me on Monday. And she goes, "Lindsay, how do I register?" I'm like, no, you're not registering. I'm actually was going to call you to ask you to moderate. She says, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, come and moderate." And then I sent the program. And she goes, "Which one?" I'm like, "All three of them." And Mona, she's working full-time for GRPF, but she took these 2 days to be with us, and I mean, thank you, homie. Please. And Harry. Guys, Harry looked, we go to the same church, Harry and I, he's responsible for the sound desk. But Harry looked at he listened to one of my speeches, and he says, "You do know that you are is it called cash cow?" I'm like, "You call me a cow?" Harry took his time to invest his time in shaping my voice, shaping my thinking process, and I at that point didn't realize that this man is building his own business. Harry is a speech coach, not speech therapist, speech coach. He hosts public speaking workshops. He can tell you how to pitch and how to do a presentation at work. But I think, and he's got a company called, there are a couple of them, I think we're going to promote Articulate. That one, Articulate Communication, because he literally, even how to do a 5-minute elevator pitch, because you know as a businesswoman you must do that. If you meet that potential investor in the elevator, from the minute from ground to the first floor, the 5 basic things you must do, Harry will teach you. Harry, I asked him a couple of months ago, so I just, assumed, yeah. So on Sunday, I reminded him and he goes, "What do you mean?" He says, "He didn't come back to me." Cancel everything that you've got, Harry, you're the MC for the next 2 days. And Harry came, "Please come, my friend." No. There's Oxygen Communication. We called them last night, and but she's represented here. So that's Ms. Hilda Basona-Mojebo. Please get the certificate as well. Yeah, we called them, but they didn't hear us last time. We've got Bianca. Please come and represent Ms. Hilda. Also came on board last night. Hilda saw me spinning and said, "How can I help?" And she jumped on board, and she's here represented by Bianca. And this one is looking cute up here, but she's actually, I feel like Lloyd has helped on the Awima projects as well. But with this one in particular, Lloyd says, "I'm coming on board pro bono." She did a lot of work behind the scenes, and I think one of the things I have to commend you, my friend, is how you pulled everything together. I remember, where are we today? Monday night, I came in here, I said, I'm gonna go home, because things were like looking all over, you know, and I said, because I was losing, I think on Monday I completely lost it. But coming here and seeing how you put everything together, my friend, I am so proud of you, as I am very grateful for everything you've done for the summit. Tabandula? No, Impact Desk was correcting, but please come on board, Charlie. Come. Yes. And the other one is also trying to look cute on the stage, thinking she's not getting anything, but very big. Berlin heard our interview on 99 FM and started calling me, and I'm thinking, who is this person? I just corrected what I had to correct. Please stand on stage. Yes, please. And so then she called and said, how can SAA partner with us? And I mentioned the partnership last night. She was not here to receive our token of appreciation. So these people are friends of women. They are personal friends of mine. And I'm just demonstrating again, once again, the power of networking. Who said yesterday? Network is what and the other one is what? But this is basically the power of networking. That somebody I can just call. Yes, this one, come on board, please, come. This one I've got the rights because she's family. I can harass her whenever she wants to. And please, come on board as well. Yeah, this one, I said to her, you will come and speak, because she would call me in the middle of the night. Yeah, the woman, I'm not getting opportunity. I'm hosting a summit, and you will come and talk. And here she is. Cynthia, thank you very much. And this is her amazing, beautiful daughter, Tabanda, who basically, as the mom said, is mentoring her mother. And she put together a beautiful stand here in the back, and just to showcase what shoulders she stands on. Osmos, I really heels, no, she was really heels last time. But also just again showing the power of collaboration. So yeah, this is it. I'm missing out, but again, if I missed you out, I have lent you. Dear Francia! And you just there looking at me, please come. She was one of the first to like our LinkedIn profile, like, okay. And then I forgot to continue the conversation. And then 2 minutes later, I just responded again, OC. And then I said, I want you to speak. She says, without a doubt, I'm there. And not only did she come and speak, she also sponsored 2 students to be present at this event. So, and I must tell you that this, and I know I'm jumping the gun here, we're talking about again, funding, access to funding and skills and whatever. I'm gonna jump the gun here and say, Vincia is working behind the scenes with a friend of, common friend of ours who's sitting in Australia, who's actually going to offer services, skills. So basically, if you've got an EPL, these 2 ladies are getting together to offer geological services, mining engineering services, because you need a geologist, because you need to understand what your real estate is about, as Kofi said. So you go out and you get your EPL, and I want to know what's on that ground. And then they will, and Charlotte is in Australia working on funding that will make it accessible for us to actually develop, because we have to know, to develop that EPL into a payable ground. I'm not a big fan on us selling our EPLs, Papa, because by selling your EPL, you're selling a piece of the land. I want us to develop those EPLs and become mine owners. So we are working behind the scenes. So if you somebody said you must manage expectations. So just know we are working very hard in the background to answer Lauren's question on how do we then do that. We cannot obviously announce a bigger picture yet, but I had to mention because Vincent came on board. But we are working on things like that and just make the value proposition of the association more effective. I think that's it. Yes, that's it. Yes. Oh, yeah. No. Kesha. Yes.
There's me also.
There's you also. No, friends. Yeah, like I don't even know what to say about you. Kesha, I am super, super proud of you. Kesha, literally a learned metallurgist, chemical engineer. That, you know, when they talk about there's no skills in green hydrogen, show me, Kesha, because really it's just taking out the hydrogen from the water molecule. Just kidding. But honestly, Kesha,